6 o'clock on October 26th. Welcome, everyone. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Dr. Jana Karpinski-Costa, would you lead in some flag salute, please?
Please join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa.
Present.
Councilmember Lopez Taft.
Here.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Vice Mayor Daniels.
Here.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Here. Next item, please.
This meeting of the Citrus Heights City Council is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at citrusheights.net. Tonight's meeting replays on Monday, October 30th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting can also be viewed on the city's YouTube channel.
Great. All right, next item, please.
Next item is approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a movement by Jana and Dr. Karpinski-Costa and a second by Jane Taft. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Brett, are you there?
And
Vice
Mayor,
Are you in
Mayor-
favor? Okay.
Mayor, we actually, because we do have a council member on Zoom, we will need to do a roll call vote on all items tonight. I
Okay,
apologize.
very good. Let's do a roll call vote on that then.
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taft.
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels.
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is public comment. If you wish to address the council during the meeting, please fill out a speaker identification sheet and give it to myself, the city clerk. When you're called upon to speak, step forward to the podium and state your name for the record. Normally, speakers are limited to 5 minutes each, with 30 minutes being allowed for all comments. The mayor has the discretion to lengthen or shorten the allotted times. And we do have some public comment cards, and I also have one to read tonight.
Okay, let's handle the folks that are here today. So let's, Bill Van Duker, if you will make your way to the podium.
My name is Bill Van Duker, a resident of Citrus Heights. Good evening, Mayor Schaefer and the present council members. I'm here to comment on the decision regarding the Sylvan Corners development. As I move among the community, people ask me, what in the world was the council thinking? And I have to say that I have no idea, because I didn't hear a single word from the council about a higher and better use for the site.
Thank you.
I do know that the stated reasons were in many cases gross misapplications of the general plan. Some of the stated reasons for denying Sylvan Corners would also have required denial of Turner Court, isolated from the neighboring communities and only one outlet. Lawrence Avenue development, same reasons. Parts of Mitchell Village, no front yards and alley access. Camden Place off Auburn Boulevard, too dense, one outlet. And then, of course, the duplex development in front of Walmart, only one outlet, traffic, and limited, quote, party parking. A word about the Citrus Heights general plan. State law requires a city to have a general plan. So one of the actions at the very beginning when the city was first formed was to adopt the county's general plan. Then the council appointed a commission, of which I was chair, to work with Janet Ruggiero, who was the planning director and had a statewide reputation. And then she had some outside consultants and we cobbled together something that the city could use until we adopted our own general plan. The first thing we did with the county's general plan was to whack out references to marinas on the Sacramento River, reference to airports, agricultural land, heavy industrial, mining, rocket testing, et cetera, because we didn't have any marinas or airports, and we didn't expect that we would likely need them. I think it was about 2 years later that the city adopted its real general plan. The operative concepts are general and goals. Goals are not rigid requirements. When the former city manager, Christopher Boyd, learned that the Sylvan Corners property might be declared excess property by the San Juan Unified School District, he saw that several of us community members were appointed to the district's 7-Eleven committee to advance the city's interest in possibly acquiring the Sylvan site. Dave Mitchell, former director of the Sunrise Park, Park and Recs, was chair of that because state law requires that excess property be offered to a park district first. As you know, the city was successful in acquiring the Sylvan Corners site. Let's talk about market forces for a minute. It is significant that when the city opened the window for proposals for use of the property, there were no submissions for mixed use, theaters, restaurants, community centers, or some of the other ideas echoing around social media. Take theaters, for example. When the city was incorporated, there were either 18 or 20 theater screens in Citrus Heights. There's some debate about that. Today, there are none. There are virtually no theaters being built unless they are in dense traffic areas like the Palladio and Folsom. This week, it was reported that the final nail had been put in the coffin of the Studio Movie Grill out in Auburn. It will become a church and will therefore be removed from the church's or from the city's property tax rolls. Councilmember Karpinski-Koska quoted from the Auburn Boulevard specific plan in her comments. One of the commercial possibilities mentioned was a drugstore. I would point out that we have 2 vacant Rite Aid buildings right now at prominent corners in Citrus Heights, and we will soon have a 3rd Rite Aid vacancy. Partially occupied commercial space at that location would be detrimental to the neighboring community and to the city as a whole. There is significant vacant commercial space already nearby. Housing is stable, commercial centers may not be. It would seem that the council's decision was partially based on postings on social media, which may not be representative of the community at large. The social media voices appear to be, for the most part, against whatever proposal and on any subject.
Continue, Bill. No, just ignore that.
Many of the same people were against Mitchell Village. They also tend to be the same people who want the city to do something about Sunrise Mall. It's the same, it's very much the same group. I cannot find in the general plan or the zoning code that not having room for a dog or a vegetable garden or the possibility of 2 electric cars in one household or the space for a holiday party can be the basis for the denial of a project. And the speculation that there could be 2 school-aged children in every one of the homes is not supported by any study that I know of, and I know the San Juan District studies these things very carefully. But by your action 2 weeks ago, you have essentially doomed the development of Sunrise Tomorrow and other prospective projects. In my term on the Sacramento County Project Planning Commission, I want to emphasize Project Planning Commission, we had about 160 meetings. 80 of those meetings I was chair. Almost all of our items were developments. I understand developers, and if it doesn't pencil out, it won't happen. There were usually multiple proposals to consider at each meeting. I have a pretty fair understanding of how developers think. No developer is going to put 2 years into a project like Woodside Homes did, only to risk rejection at the last minute. You have effectively put up a sign at the border of Citrus Heights saying, "Stay away." This leads into a comment of how your actions were a slap in the face to the professional planning staff on your payroll and to your own planning commission members. Citrus Heights, from its beginning, has had a reputation of having one of the best planning departments in the region. and that started with Janet Ruggiero at the very beginning. You have a chance to rectify this error. I call on you, Mayor Schaefer, to schedule an agenda item at a future meeting to reconsider your action on the Sylvan Corners development. Thank you, and I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you, Bill. All right. Next, I have Marcel Flowers, if you'll come up, please.
I hope I'll be given the same time as Bill.
Absolutely.
Good evening, Mayor Schaefer, council members, staff. My name is Marcel Flowers, resident of Citrus Heights, served as city planning commissioner for the past 6 years. I'm going to read quickly because I do have a lot to say. I come before you tonight with a tremendous burden, and although I know what I'm about to say will have no effect on the decisions you made 2 weeks ago regarding the Sylvan Corners subdivision, I hope in some way it'll awaken the three of you that were against this project to the dire need for a mindset change that without could have devastating effects on the future vitality of our community. I'd like to start with a few statistics that hopefully you're all aware of. The 14.2 square miles that makes up the framework of Citrus Heights is approximately 33,134 households, occupying 34,459 housing units, of which 96 are occupied. There are approximately 2.6 people living in each of those households, earning a median income of about $75,000. One statistic that I will highlight is the 96% of the homes in Citrus Heights that are occupied. We desperately need some new housing. The current median age in Citrus Heights is 40.2 months. Why is this important? Because these millennials are the voice and the engines for the future of this city. They are the home buyers, they are the parents of our future leaders, they're the business owners and supporters, they are our agents of change. They are, in a sense, the vitality of our community. And I venture to say that confirmed by the actions of the 3 council members that voted against this project, you have no idea how these millennials prefer to live and work. I'll remind you of a few of the comments made in opposition to the project. Bill alluded to some of them, and I quote, "What's the quality of life for the people in this development? Inadequate yard space with no room for family, neighbors to get together, no room for barbecues, even family dogs, vegetables, and flower gardens. This community is isolated from the rest of the community because it's gated. Homeowners will have to schlep their food to the green areas when the families visit," quote unquote. Millennials don't want what we had. Millennials don't want what their parents had. They want affordable homes that feature low maintenance. They want vibrant neighborhood communities, walking distance amenities, school parks and stores. Millennials don't want backyards to mow. On Saturday morning, they will walk over to the local Starbucks, grab a coffee, head to the gym, pick up some sushi, and return to the garden or the green area to hang out with the people in their community. They don't want to grow gardens. They will get on their bikes or Uber to the local farmer's market, buy their vegetables from our local farmers. They don't need barbecues in their backyard. They're going to walk their dog to meet their family and friends at the local beer garden down the street. That's what the 40-year-olds are wanting these days, and that makes up the major populace of our city. I also heard from one of just 2 speakers in the audience that the same concerns as our council member, and the summation of her concerns was wrapped up in the comment that discerning voice deep inside of me says, "Not this development, not this corner." I was astounded how her discerning voice was had trumped the myriad of qualified professionals assigned to this project to mitigate everything from traffic, environmental concerns, noise, pollution, and safety. I heard another resident of 60 years who claimed that each of the families would certainly have 2 kids and 2 cars, Bill spoke to that as well, that would clutter up his street while dropping the kids off to school, and how his neighbor who lived here 60 years, raised 5 kids here, also didn't want another development in their neighborhood. To that I would say, millennials hold the education of their children in high priority. How might, using his numbers, 188 new students and 94 sets of parents impacted those 3 schools in the immediate area? Council went on to read the numerous policies and goals from the general plan, stating after each one of these projects that somehow fell short pertaining to the quality of life of the homeowner, preservation of the neighborhoods, the enhancement of the community benefits, and the superior construction design, to name a few. I could spend a half an hour reiterating the comments and pointing out the conflicting statements, the blatant omission of the entire goals, but I would rather just say, I think your approach was condescending and downright disrespectful to not only the staff who spent hundreds of hours on this project, to the developer who invested hundreds of thousands of dollars preparing this project with excellent, and yes, should I say, superior design work. They were prepared with multiple options of attractive housing. They were adding a park, 155 trees, green spaces, walking paths, gates for school access, patios, and spaces for 94 future residents, and need I say, a thriving community. Mr. Mayor, you personally stated that you were on the fence about your vote. Councilman Daniels, you alluded to the same. Why then, with such a huge impact at stake, did you not vote to recess until you had a solid, unwavering vote? The three of you who carelessly threw this project aside agreed to this project a year ago. Why, if you had been so against it, did you not cast your vote then? Why proceed this past year with wasted funds, time, city assets to simply say no so carelessly? 2 weeks ago, and I'll summarize this, 2 weeks ago, you not only said no to this project, but you said no to 94 potential families who would have made up a vibrant community. You said no to the schools who desperately need new families with leadership and commitment to them. You said no to the 40-plus businesses along that corridor that would have benefited tremendously by the patronage of these families. You said no to our public parks and our REX program, who would have undoubtedly seen an increase in the program attendees. You said no to Area 2, who might have had some new participants adding life and new ideas to their community meetings. You said no to my kids who have been waiting for their chance at affordable housing. You said no to the beautification of the Sylvan Corners and the passerbyers who would have definitely benefited from the peaceful place to sit and observe. You said no to future developers who, in our community, who will simply not risk a proposal such as this again. You said no to future businesses whom, without a new, fresh, younger demographic, will simply not plant here. You said no to the staff. You said no to us planning commissioners, and you said no to the leaders of Citrus Heights. And you said no to me. You have not represented me. You have not represented my neighbors or the numerous business associates I have in this city, and I hope my comments will enlighten you to begin to say yes to the individuals who our future depends on. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have a speaker card for Natalie Price. If you'd like to step to the podium, please.
Hello, Mayor, Vice Mayor on TV, and council people. I am Natalie Price, and I am not here to talk about the Sylvan development, but to give you an update on REACH that I am very excited about. Because council said yes to our Good Neighbor Week, we have a huge opportunity coming down the pipeline. So the Hopeful Neighborhood Project, which is a national organization working on engagement and leadership, is coming to Citrus Heights. They will be via Zoom at the next 3 REACH meetings. That is November, December, and January. November and December will be the first Monday like always. That January will be the second Monday due to the holiday. All 3 of those meetings will be held at City Hall in the room across the hall. That way we have access to your big old screen. I appreciate you. This is an invitation for everybody who is interested in being part of this engagement team to come and learn leadership skills specifically for neighborhood engagement. At the end of these 3 trainings, they will be boots on the ground in Citrus Heights, open up for the whole community to get involved, and I'm very excited about that. But I too would like some fresh voices, and I thought that opening up this invitation here tonight would let the city know and everybody out here know what's coming so that they could get involved. And that's all I got for you folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. All right. So we have one comment that was sent in by email or online.
Correct. So
Okay.
I'll go ahead and read that comment. It is from Janice J. Cox, and she states, "The denial of the Sylvan Corners development seems ill-considered. Many months and a lot of money was spent by the developer and the city staff on the project. Direction should have been given early on that you were against a dense project. Plans were discussed at several previous meetings, so many lost opportunities. Comments like garbage cans have to go in the garage, the smells, and where will the children play seem petty. Yes, the lots are smaller than on Carriage, but not everyone wants the same lifestyle. You ignore the thousands living in apartments and condos with no yards of any kind. Some of those people would love to move up into a larger house with a little outdoor space. Would I live in an alley-loaded house? Probably not, but others do want a more urban lifestyle, spending free time at Tahoe instead of yard work or pet care. Your decision says Citrus Heights doesn't welcome young professionals or empty nesters wanting to live walking distance to a brew pub or Ciro's or Wonderful Chinese. Some neighbors and council members have this fantasy of posh shopping or high-end housing with large lots. Have developers been beating down the door with proposals? No. California's draconian housing and density rules mean the city has no real control over what is built where. Your decision ensures we are left with an empty, dusty, barren lot at the city's premier intersection, likely remaining so for a generation. And that completes the written comment.
Thank you so much. Very good. May I have the next item, please?
Next item is presentations, and we have for the first presentation, number 4, is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Mayor, we have 2 representatives here tonight, and we have 2
all right.
proclamations.
That was what I was a little confused about. There you go. Like duplicate proclamations? Okay. So, all right, that clarifies it. Thank you. Jane, if you would address the proclamation, please.
All right. Did we have any other presentation? I wasn't quite sure. All right, I will read. I would like to invite Greg Kaiser, lead pastor at Foundations Christian Church, and leader of the Thrive Cancer Fighters Support Group, as well as Captain Parker Wilborn from the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District, to the podium to say a few words and accept the proclamation. So if I can have Greg Kaiser, the leader of the Thrive, that would be Greg, and then Captain Parker Wilborn. Thank you.
Hi, unfortunately, Greg Kaiser did have to leave, but he appreciates the opportunity to be here, and we'll make sure the proclamation gets to him. So thank you. We'll leave it to Captain Parker. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, city manager. My name is Parker Wilborn. I'm a fire captain with Metro Fire. And obviously, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We know cancer affects our entire community. I've personally been impacted by it. I've had multiple family members that have suffered from breast cancer, friends. We've had a number of fatalities in the fire service or people that are currently fighting cancer. So it's something that hits home to all of us. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. November is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Our mission at Metro Fire is to provide the highest level of protection, education, and service to our community. We take pride in that key component of the education and the awareness. We have members that started the cancer awareness program with the thought process that we need to get the messaging of early detection to our community. So what we did was we actually wrapped a fire engine about 10 years ago now. So it's been a decade, so this is the perfect timing because it has been about 10 years. Completely pink. And so this is a 40-foot, 40,000-pound billboard that's basically traveling throughout all 5 of our districts, 400 square miles of Sacramento County, responding to 911 calls, and really just getting that message out. Now, not too long ago, about 2016, we actually changed that fire engine, and as you'll see recently, we cut it in half, and half of it is pink, half of it is blue for Men's Health as well. And so one of the key persons that was responsible for that was Captain Bob Bruce, and unfortunately, Bob Bruce passed away just on the 7th of October. So we've dedicated that fire engine to him.
Sorry for your loss.
So that engine's going to continue to roll through our district. It was just at Station 21 for the last 2 weeks, representing Metro Fire to all of the Citrus Heights community and getting that awareness out. And I'm sure maybe you all have seen it traveling up and down the street. But we've had a number of partners that were instrumental in that, and one of those partners is the City of Citrus Heights. You guys have helped sponsor that now for the past several years. And we want to say thank you for your partnership and for your collaboration on that. We were also sponsored by the Sacramento Kings, the Sacramento Republic, the River Cats, and one of the really cool things that we do every year with the Sacramento Kings is we'll have De'Aaron Fox, one of the main Kings representatives, the players, ride on the fire engine to people's homes, to people fighting cancer, and we pass out tickets to them for their breast cancer awareness game. So we were honored to do that for the past several years, and I want you to know that the City of Citrus Heights had something to do with that. So I appreciate your collaboration as we move forward. And if there's anything that we can do to help facilitate any type of cancer awareness to your community beyond what we're doing already, please reach out and let us know.
Great.
That's all I have.
Well, one second.
Well, thank you, Captain Wilborn. So this is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, whereas in 2023 alone, the American Cancer Society estimates 297,790 U.S. women will be diagnosed with a new case of invasive breast cancer, and not only are women affected by breast cancer, but 2,800 new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed in men. And whereas the City of Citrus Heights wants to stand alongside its community members who are fighting and surviving breast cancer and all other forms of cancer, and whereas Connect Citrus Heights is a coalition of community groups that come together every other month to share ideas, be a resource to one another, and build connection. And whereas Citrus Heights is a proud sponsor of Metro Fire's local cancer prevention campaign, for the 10th year, Metro Fire has a fire engine wrapped in blue for men's cancers and pink for breast cancer to bring awareness of all cancers and encourage all people to get screened. This engine will be the frontline engine responding to service calls and traveling to community events throughout Sacramento County. And whereas Connect Citrus Heights member and lead pastor at Foundation Christian Church in Citrus Heights, Greg Kaiser, wanted to share his new cancer support group with as many Citrus Heights residents as possible. After attending Connect Citrus Heights meetings and learning of the ways members can connect with residents through tools like our community events calendar, Greg reached out to the city to help get his new group connected to the community. And whereas Greg's personal battle with colorectal cancer led him to start Thrive Cancer Fighters Support Group, the group prioritizes relational and emotional support in hopes that nobody in the City of Citrus Heights ever faces cancer alone. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby proclaim October 2023 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and do hereby urge all Citrus Heights community members to see their doctor and get checked for cancers, as well as uplift and support those in our community who are battling cancer this month and throughout the year. I wanted to add my personal note of thanks for all the awareness you're doing. I used to work for the Cancer Society, and when I worked for the Cancer Society, I had two immediate family members, my mother and her sister, battle breast cancer, fortunately and unfortunately together. And so I know that early detection is key, so thank you for adding your voice to that very, very important message.
Great. You pause right there, and we'll come down and take a picture and present the
Fantastic.
proclamation.
Maybe just real quick before Captain Wilborn sits down, just want to also acknowledge what, Captain Wilborn for 4 more days? Yeah, so we also going to be celebrating a promotion to battalion chief on October 30th, so congratulations.
All right, next item, please.
Next item is presentation number 5, proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming October 2023 as Hindu American Appreciation and Awareness Month.
And I will do the honors here. So I'd like to ask Sangeeta Sankar to come to the podium. Hope I didn't pronounce that okay.
Sangeeta.
What's
Sangeeta.
Sangeeta, okay. All right, this is a proclamation of the City of Citrus Heights proclaiming October 2023 as Hindu American Appreciation and Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Citrus Heights is enriched by its diverse cultural, ethnic, and religious landscape, including the Hindu American population, and the City of Citrus Heights appreciates the valuable contributions of Hindu Americans in various fields of like education, science, medicine, and technology, and acknowledges their profound community service, and Hindu Americans have helped to promote principles of tolerance, pluralism, and religious freedom, and contribute positively to the City of Citrus Heights' vitality and well-being. And Hindu Americans are engaged in selfless service known as seva towards their fellow human beings, which enhances the social fabric of the City of Citrus Heights, and Ahimsa, a foundation principle of non-injury and non-violence in Hinduism, aligns with the City of Citrus Heights' commitment to fostering a community of respect and unity, and Hindu Americans in cities throughout California celebrate numerous holidays and festivals such as Diwali, which celebrates the victory of good over evil and knowledge over ignorance, and whereas we celebrate the rich and diverse heritage of Hindu American community, including those who live, work, and play in the City of Citrus Heights. Now, there be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights does hereby designate October 2023 as Hindu American Awareness and Appreciation Month in appreciation of the achievements and contributions made by members of the Hindu community. Please, if you have any comments, please offer them.
Yes, thank you. Esteemed Mayor Tim Schaefer, Vice Mayor Britt Daniels, and City Council members, I'm Sangeeta Shankar and represent the Hindu American Foundation, the oldest and largest advocacy organization in North America that works for the rights and representation of Hindu Americans. With me is Pandurang Ittagi, a very active member of the community here. On behalf of the Hindu American Foundation and the vibrant Hindu communities of Citrus Heights, I would like to give thanks and commend the mayor and council members for recognizing October as Hindu Awareness and Appreciation Month. It is really indeed an honor to receive this proclamation as we Hindu Americans are gearing up to celebrate our biggest festival, Diwali, or the Festival of Lights, that falls on November 12th this year. Diwali is a celebration of good over evil, and on behalf of my entire community, I invite all of you to join us in celebrations around Sac County starting in November. In this day and age of global conflict and rife, the Hindu American Awareness and Appreciation Month proclamation highlights the important message of Hinduism, of peace, progress, and of humanity being one big universal family, or Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The Citrus Heights Hindu community has been an excellent model of this universal brotherhood and are proud to serve as productive members who actively do seva or giving back to the community through organizations like HSS, Seva, Chinmaya Mission, Annapurna Foundation, to name a few. For example, this year, the organization of Seva Diwali has contributed more than 1,000 pounds of food to the Orange Vale Fair Oaks Food Bank consistently. Annapurna Foundation, on an average, feeds 3,000 meals every year for the homeless communities in Greater Sacramento and works with HART of Folsom. And these are just examples of a very long list of tremendous work done by our Hindu communities. Our Hindu American communities have also contributed to making Citrus Heights a vibrant city with activities and opportunities in arts and culture, science, technology, and spirituality. Not to mention the unique talent that it possesses in attracting top-notch employees or employers here and making Citrus Heights an ideal home for families. But as much as our faith thrives here in Citrus Heights, unfortunately, in parts of the world, including California, there is a rising presence of Hindu phobia that deliberately misinterprets Hinduism and restricts it to curry, cow, and caste. Overall, there is simply a lack of education about our worldwide living faith of more than 1 billion people. So your recognition of October as Hindu American Awareness and Appreciation Month is an important milestone for the self-esteem of the many Hindu citizens of Citrus Heights. So today's proclamation again is a token of appreciation for all that our Hindu American communities have done for the city of Citrus Heights, and we gratefully accept your appreciation. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. If you'll stay right there, we'll come down and take a picture. Okay. Next item, please.
Next item is comments by council members and regional board updates.
Well, let's start with Jane. What have you been up to?
All right. Well, there's been a lot going on in our community, and I've been, so excited to participate in much of it. I'll start with a couple weeks ago, we had the Mesa Verde ribbon cutting and opening of their stadium and new field. That was exciting because it sounds like the Mesa Verde alumni community has been waiting on that for more than a decade, and we're very excited, along with their alumni community, to participate in that. We had our community service day the following Saturday to that. I did attend my neighborhood association meeting. I am part of Chasen, and we had a speaker from the management team at Sunrise Point with Hope Cooperative. That was a very informative meeting, and I encourage everyone to attend your neighborhood area meetings, because that is really where you get to meet your neighbors and get activated right where it makes a difference in your own backyard. I also attended a wonderful ribbon cutting to a business called Purpose Built, right there, if you're familiar and been around the city for a while, the old Pier 1 building. We have a wonderful new business in residence, and they are true to their name, Purpose Built. They serve the trades community and are bringing and have a passion for talking about trades with young people, which is near and dear to my heart. Of course, we had our State of the City. For those of you who attended, thank you for supporting us. We had the Heart Spaghetti Fest on the following Friday. We met in our 2x2 meeting with Metro Fire. That was very, very informative. It's always so nice to meet with Metro Fire because they come out in force and truly represent just the best of who they are. And kind of going along with that, we attended a very, very special transfer of command ceremony for the incoming Fire Chief Adam House. And that does not happen every year, and that was something to behold. So I was very, very excited to do that. And, you know, it's such a blessing to represent the city in many different capacities. And I hope that every one of you consider when you're asked to serve on different community events and activities, because that's how you get to know who is part of your city and how best to make a city thrive. Thank you.
Dr. Jana, what have you been up to?
Well, let's see, I'm catching up. So on the 13th of October, which was my wedding anniversary, 33 years, I went to the collaborative meeting. The Citrus Heights Collaborative is a group of people who get together once a month to talk about issues concerning everyone. So this particular topic was on the vision impaired, which I am. So we had a panel discussion. The Braille Library lady was there that I got so impressed with. And so it's how to make your community accessible to the challenged vision people, and as I lose my vision day to day, and that's why I was not at the change of command. I get eyeball injections, and so I couldn't go. But anyhow, I learned a lot. It opened my eyes, so to speak, for that topic. And so I hope to participate in future collaborative meetings because they are very worthwhile, open to the public, open to anyone who get on the email list, and if it's a topic that, moves you, show up. Then, the next day was a very Art Beat. Art Beat was put on by Gigi Rayford, who's Portia's mom. She's a member of the Art Society. The city gave her a grant to put on this event. Well worth it. It was incredible. I was there while the harpist was playing. It was a beautiful, beautiful event. It was like art and art and art and art. And it was not big. It was at Birdcage, and I don't know how well attended it was because I didn't hang out long enough to count people. But for the time I was there, I was in awe. And I spent some money, but that's the aside point. Handmade kitty earrings, those are good. Then, on Monday, on the 16th, I got a tour of the Sac Sewer pump station that's next to the library. And wanted to convey thanks to our police department, who now, the pump people say, now keep the homeless away better now that they've put up some barriers for the homeless that were living on the grounds of the pump station. The pump station pumps your sewer water to that station, and then it goes from there to Natomas, and then from Natomas to Elk Grove. So it's part of a system. And so most of the sewer flows by gravity, and then it gets to a point where it's got to get pushed up to get to the next pipe to go down again for gravity. So it pumps somewhere between 1 and 10 million gallons a day. It's a lot of pumping, and so it pumps. And as a reward for going, they gave me a new hat, a hard hat. So I'll put some little kitty stickers on there. It'll be my personal hard hat. And they gave me a little vest so I could walk around and look like I knew what I was doing. Then I had the mosquito meeting, and just something to share that, now that it's getting cooler, mosquitoes are down. I saw today on my 20 minutes before this meeting started, the first case of dengue fever in Pasadena. Dengue is a very bad disease. Generally, people who get it somewhere else and then come home with it. This one was contracted in Pasadena. So the first case of dengue in California. And that disease is carried by what we always describe as invasive mosquitoes that aren't normally here, but have invaded our areas. So usually brought up through some plants, those little bamboo plants that live in the water, they have water in them. So they're carried in from foreign areas in the water. So, but as of October 6th, on the West Nile front, as of October 6th, there were 19 confirmed cases in Sacramento County and 16 in Yolo County of West Nile virus. Most of those were the neuroinvasive. In November, we'll start doing our tick surveillance. And you know, ticks are bad because they carry Lyme disease, both for you and your pet. And we did have one chikungunya case in Sacramento, but it was one that had traveled outside the United States and moved here. And, hang on one second, there was another statistic I thought was cool. Oh, we do a program with cemetery vases, because people put flowers in the cemetery vases and mosquitoes like to breed in there. So we did, in 21 different cemeteries, we treated 18,741 cemetery vases with an anti-mosquito pellet that they found last 8 weeks. It's like a study they're doing. And so our mosquito conference is in January, and most of our staff gives presentations at those conferences on the various projects that we undertake at the district. This being one of them, I'm sure it's going to be a good topic to share with the rest of the state. And we did 200 yellow jacket nests just this fall. So yellow jackets, we do go for them. If you have a problem with yellow jackets, you call the district. Okay, so let's see. Then, that was my mosquito update. I went to State of the City. I think Mayor did a great job presenting the State of the City. It was a great event. The food was terrific. If you got the tickets to go to the food, but if you just went to listen to him, it was great. It's so much we have accomplished in 1 year. It's incredible, the list of accomplishments. Then the Hart had a spaghetti feed, and I did bid on an item, and they haven't contacted me yet because their ATM wasn't working. So I don't know who's in charge of that, but I'm waiting for the phone call. Then the Halloween parade that put on by the marching band, that was incredible. Natalie was, oh, there she is. She got the award for best outfit. As you can see, are you still wearing that same outfit? No, this is a different one. Okay. So, yeah, that was a great event. I just love the marching band events. And then Monday, I went to the SOAR meeting, and Chief Turcotte was our speaker. That's our Neighborhood 10 Area 10 meeting. And I echo Mary Jane to say, please participate in your neighborhood meetings. The speakers there are usually incredible, as was our chief. And then Natalie always, a restaurant owner brings food. So we always have good food. She made eyeball meatballs. Ogre eye meatballs. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, I got one question for Dr. Jana Kabrinsky-Costa. The 10 million gallons of water they
1 to 10, pump.
What's that?
Day, 1 to 10 million gallons.
1 to 10 million, is that potable water or is that recycled water from the sewers?
Coming out of your pipes. It's your collector pipe.
It's my collector pipe. It's
everything you flush.
I'm talking about the things that the water they flush with. Is that fresh water?
If it's out of your toilet, it's water.
Okay,
You push the little lever down, and it goes through pipes.
okay. all
Goes
right,
to the pump
okay.
station. Do you want to stop the clog? You don't want to put fog in your clog, which is fats, oil, and grease. It's
I
fog.
was really more referring to when it gets to a certain point and it has to go up,
Right,
where's the water come from that they use to
As the
get it
water
over
pours in from your collector system, it gets to the pump, and then it's automated, so the guy isn't sitting there turning on the on button.
Okay.
It's when the water rises a certain amount, it gets to a certain level, and then it's pumped so that it goes to the next leg of its journey
Okay.
to the sewer treatment plant.
And I shout out to SASD. They are great speakers. If you have them come and speak at your neighborhood association meeting, or neighborhood area meeting, they're great. So moving on, Vice Mayor, what have you been up to?
I'll just wait to catch up in person on the next meeting. Pass
Okay.
for now.
All right, fair enough. So I'm going to go back to what I've been working on. I also attended the Mesa Verde ribbon cutting. That was a really exciting event. What a beautiful field. Love to see the Mesa Verde Mavericks won the game. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to stay for the game because those bleacher seats kill my back. But nonetheless, it was a really great event. We love to see how many people. It's stunning to me how many people attended. It was just really hard to find parking there, so. And of course, I was there at State of the City. Anybody miss me? No. So it was a great event. I want to thank staff for all the hard work they put into that. Certainly, it made my job a little easier. And then I did judge the Halloween parade, the floats, and some of the other items there. That was a really fun time. So now we get to the comment part, and I'm just going to make a brief comment about Sylvan Corners. It was a tough decision for sure, but I also, and I didn't say this at the meeting, and I noticed that all the people that were here and spoke in favor of it then were missing at the time of the vote. But we have, our population density in Citrus Heights is 6,092 people. That's a lot per square mile. That's more than any other region in the entire, more than any other city in the entire. Sacramento's 5,400 people per square mile. Sacramento County is 149 people, or sorry, 1,498 people per square mile. I think we're doing our job when it comes to housing. We said yes to Mitchell Farms. We said yes to Neff Court. We said yes to, I can't remember the last housing project we said no to. So I don't think that one decision says a message to the entire development community that don't come build here in Citrus Heights. I think there was a lot of, that project was super extended. It was initially supposed to be 1 year from the time that they made the offer to their closing, and it was looking like it was going to be close to 3 years before it was finally done. So, look, sometimes it doesn't always work out, and I appreciate all the hard work the staff put into that, but at the same time, it was a tough decision, but at this point, I'm going to stand by it. So anyhow, moving on to the next item, please.
Next item, we have consent calendar items 6 and 7.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, I have a move approval by Dr. Jane Karpinski-Costa, second by Mary Jane Lopez Taff. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taff?
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels?
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is public hearing number 8. The subject is review final 2024 action plan and funding recommendations for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The recommendation is to hear public testimony on the draft action plan and funding recommendations, and to adopt a resolution approving the Community Development Block Grant 2024 action plan and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute and file all documents required to receive U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant funds.
So good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Nicole Pivo with the Community Development Department. I'm here tonight to present the 2024 Community Development Block Grant Funding Recommendations. As a reminder, this item was a continued item from October 12th, City Council meeting. So real quickly, CDBG program is a federally funded program. The city does receive an annual grant based on its population to provide services to primarily low-income households. To receive these funds, the city is required to submit an action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on how the city plans activities and the funding allocations for that program year. So it is estimated that in 2024, we'll receive about $600,000. That allocation's broken down into 3 different categories. So you have your public service funds, your capital improvements, and your program administration funds. So tonight, we'll hold a second public hearing and ask that you consider funding the recommendations relating to the 2024 action plan for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The first recommendation before you tonight, we did have 5 nonprofits who submitted an application. And as a reminder, October 12th, those nonprofits did come and speak on behalf of their organization and the services that they provide. So with that total amount requested, it was over $152,000. The public service pot of money is $90,000. So the recommendation is to fund Campus Life, Meals on Wheels, Community Link Capital Region, and Project Sentinel. That's the fair housing activity at the full amount, and then the remaining amount would go to Sunrise Christian Food Ministry. During this time, it was not recommended that we fund Jake's Journey Home. We are currently in a new partnership with Community Health Works and the county, so we wanted to see how that program works, and it is similar to what Jake's Journey Home was proposing. It was a homeless mobile outreach service. So if we find we need additional services, we will reach out to Jake's Journey Home, and they can always apply next year for funding. The second recommendation is the capital improvement project money, which is $390,000. The recommendation is to fund the residential street resurfacing project. These funds will be used to improve accessibility improvements for sidewalks, installing ADA compliant ramps and so forth. And those locations have not yet been determined. So with that, we would like to hear any public comment on the draft action plan, and then ask council to adopt the action plan for staff to submit it to HUD.
Great. Awesome. Do you have any clarifying questions for staff? No? Vice Mayor Daniels, are you still there?
I'm here. No questions.
No questions. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to open the public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on this item? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And are there any additional questions from council members, or may I have a motion?
I move to resolve for a resolution of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights approving the Community Development Block Grant 2024 Action Plan and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute and file all documents required to receive the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant funding.
Have a second? Okay, motion by Mary Jane Lopez Taff, and Vice Mayor, and Dr. Jana Karpinski Costa. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Karpinski Costa.
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taff.
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels.
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar, item number 9. The subject is consideration on resolution to support the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act of 2024. The recommendation is to consider adopting resolution supporting the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Ryan Jones, your city attorney, and per request from the city council at the October 12th council meeting, this item is now being brought before the city council for your consideration. The decision before the council is whether to approve a resolution to support the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act of 2024. The council does have discretion to do this or not to do this. The act is an initiative constitutional amendment for the election, which would be in the November 24 election on a statewide measure. So if a majority of voters statewide do vote yes for this item, it would be approved and would amend the Constitution. A copy of the actual ballot measure initiative is in your staff report, as well as a proposed resolution. So just as a very broad overview of what this law would, or this constitutional amendment would entail, there are a number of technical changes to the Constitution that were previously passed by Prop 218 and Prop 26. So what it would fundamentally do would be change or modify the definition of a tax, which would require voter approval. It would limit tax exemptions for certain fines and penalties. It also limits the charge for a service that the city can impose to actual costs for providing such public service. It also provides some modifications to the voter requirements when it comes to voter-proposed initiatives. And then there's also an amendment with regard to ballot. When a voter initiative comes on a ballot, the ballot language has to now follow certain guidelines. This is my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on it.
Great. Any questions from council members?
I don't have any.
No? Jane? No? Vice Mayor Daniels, any questions?
No questions. Are you taking comments at this time?
Yes, absolutely.
And we do have
Okay.
some public.
Okay, so let's,
Yeah,
let you hold
I'll
your
wait.
comments for, and I'll open the public hearing and ask
Okay.
for public comments. So, so I have 3 speaker cards here. So if Charles Anderson could make his way to the podium, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Good evening, Mayor Schaefer, council members, and City Manager Feeney. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the League of California Cities before I get to the point of why I'm here. But the League of California Cities is your membership organization. It's been around since 1898, so 125 years, almost 126, I believe. It represents 482 incorporated cities in California. California cities are as diverse as its population. I'm the Regional Public Affairs Manager for the Sacramento Valley Division of the League of California Cities, and the city of Citrus Heights is a member of that division. I want to direct your attention real quick to page in your agenda packet, page 85. The fourth paragraph down, H1, the local government bears the burden of providing by clear and convincing evidence that a levy, charge, or extraction is an exempt charge and not a tax. The local government bears the burden of providing by clear and convincing evidence that the amount of the exempt charge is reasonable and that the amount of the charge does not exceed the actual cost of providing the service or product to the payer. So it'll be the burden, if this measure passes in November 2024, it'll be the burden of the city to prove through clear and convincing evidence that what you are charging the payer is reasonable and it is actual costs. Then if we back up to get to the definitions of what those are, because it is important. If we back up to an agenda packet, page 83, as used in this section, so this is in the middle, under, I believe that's J. As used in this section, exempt charge means only the following, and I'm gonna focus on one point. Under 1, a reasonable charge for a specific local government service or product provided directly to the payer that is not provided to those not charged and which does not exceed the actual cost to the local government of providing the service or product. And I'm gonna back up now one more page, or 2 more pages. Sorry here. Hold on, I think I might have got stuff out of order. I apologize. Let me look, are they sticking together? Oh, I have it here. Page 82 of your agenda packet. So the definition of actual, and this is really important. Actual cost. This is the definition of actual cost. Actual cost of providing a service or product means the minimum actual necessary to reimburse the government for the cost of providing the service or product to the payer. And 2, where the amount charged is not used by the government for any purpose other than reimbursing that cost. So it's, when you say actual, it's more than just actual. It's the minimum cost, and that's defined. But what's not defined, if you look through here, is necessary. what does it mean to have a necessary cost that is the minimum? So if you're charging developer fees and you have to pave the streets maybe, for example, what's the minimum necessary to pave that streets? You go out to bid to have somebody pave the streets, and there's 3 bids. One, you've worked with before, has done a lot of good work, great references, maybe charges a little bit more. The quality is really good. Somebody comes in and they lowball and they have a low bid. That's the minimum. That would be the minimum. So, and it's necessary, you pave it, so everybody would probably agree that it's necessary to pave the roads. But then the question would be, what would be the minimum? Is just good enough? Is that the minimum? Or do you have the leeway to say, we want streets that are gonna hold up for a while? And that's just one example. I actually have,
You can continue.
okay, thank you. I'll be very, very quick. I have a whole list of examples and I can provide them to you. These are some of the things that would be impacted and we'd be looking at the minimal cost. Property development application processing fees, plan review, gas and electric service charges, parks and recreation classes and lessons, child care services, jail booking fees, copies of police reports, emergency services fees, building permit fee. You can imagine all these different services. How much the fines are from your police department. The city has to provide clear and convincing evidence that it's the minimum cost necessary, and necessary is not defined. This means that because you are required to show that it's clear and in a clear and convincing way that is the minimum necessary, you're opened up to lawsuits. The developer comes in, they don't necessarily agree with you that it was the minimum cost, even after providing what you think is the evidence. You're potentially opening up to a lawsuit. The city doesn't have, cities don't yet know, they haven't done the analysis to see what the minimum cost would be to provide these services. They don't know necessarily if they're charging less than they could be charging, it's less than the minimum, perhaps, or if they're charging more than the minimum. And so the last thing that I want to briefly mention is that this measure is funded by the California Business Roundtable. The California Business Roundtable board, sorry, I'm getting my paper's mixed up a little bit here. I won't go through everybody that's on here, but in short, you have Altria, which is a tobacco company, is funding it. Anthem Blue Cross is funding it. Chevron, Eli Lilly and Company, Exxon, Farmers Insurance, KB Homes, Pharma, Sempra, State Farm, Sutter Health, Union Pacific Railroad, UPS, United Airlines, Valero, and there's many, many more, and law firms, by the way. If you want to know why a measure is being funded, you can get a lot of insight by looking at who's funding it. This isn't funded by taxpayers. They're taxpayers, but this isn't funded by your community members. This is funded by large corporations. And you have to ask, whose interests are they looking out for? Are they looking out for your community's interests, making sure that cities provide efficient services at a low cost? Or is it by large corporations, tobacco, insurance, healthcare, that is trying to increase the size of their pocketbook? All I wanted to do, and the reason why I'm here, is to ask either you vote no on this resolution, or you please consider tabling it until the League of California Cities has had time to educate our members and to explain and to answer questions, to be able to refute concerns and then take this up after you have all the facts. This measure will not be on the ballot until November 2024, so there's a whole year. There's no urgency to this. I implore you to please give yourself the time to consider all the information, to consider its impacts potentially to the city of Citrus Heights before voting on the resolution. And that's all I have. Thank you very much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Can I ask Nick Blois to come to the podium, please? And Nick Blois is with the Sacramento Taxpayers Association.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, I'm Nick Blois, Director of Operations for the Sacramento Taxpayers Association, known as SACTax. It is a community-based organization. SACTax is here in support of the resolution supporting the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act, known as TPA. The Taxpayer Protection Act restores the two-thirds vote to all tax increases. A two-thirds vote ensures genuine bipartisan community consensus. The TPA two-thirds vote ensures a more thorough and deliberative process. Half-baked ideas are more likely to be defeated, as well as there has been a lot of confusion with how ballot initiatives have been labeled, especially in this state. Safe Neighborhoods and Schools, Prop 47. That has turned into a disaster. I'm just using it as an example of mislabeling. So when we have a two-thirds vote, it ensures that the taxpayers and the community have a real thorough consensus. A two-thirds vote also supports diversity, equity, and inclusion by ensuring economically disadvantaged communities are not stuck with an unfair regressive tax, such as a sales tax. SACTax is proud to acknowledge the National Action Network and the NAACP as coalition allies in defeating Sacramento County Measure A in both 2020, before it even went to ballot, and in 2022. For those who say a two-thirds vote by the citizens is too high, that is just not true. CalTax has noted since 2005, 60% of parcel taxes were approved by a two-thirds vote. They have also noted 70% of all sales taxes were approved by a two-thirds vote. And I just wanted to say, in regards to the League of California Cities, they have published articles in newspapers against the TPA, which SACTax has refuted in writing and in letters to the editor. So we can provide those to you in our response. If it is a genuine need, it's very clear by a 60% and a 70% approval rate of two-thirds that the community understands if it's a genuine need. So I just wanted to articulate a situation that happened here in Sacramento County, Carmichael, a bordering unincorporated city next to Citrus Heights. An assessment was made by the Carmichael Park Board, Carmichael Park District, and it passed, and we took them to court. SACTax took them to court as a Prop 218 lawsuit. So you have two enemies. You have two opposing sides, the Carmichael Park District and the Sacramento Taxpayers Association. So what did we do? The Carmichael Park had a genuine need to repair their facilities that were really outdated. They needed a $30 million bond, okay? They had barely won an assessment by barely 50% of the vote, 51%. Sacramento Taxpayers Association went and met with the board of the Carmichael Park District. We sat down and worked out parameters. They needed a two-thirds vote of the community for their park bond to pass. And I'm happy to say that they did receive the two-thirds vote needed. So when it comes to genuine need, the community knows it. in this divided nation of 50-50 Republican, Democrat, just a whole angry political spectrum, a 2/3 vote is a consensus vote. And that's why I encourage this council to support the resolution for the TPA. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nick. Can I ask Scott Kaufman of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association to come to the podium, please?
Hello, as mentioned, I'm Scott Kaufman. I'm the Legislative Director for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. I'm also a homeowner in District 5, so it's good to see you all. I will just start with the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act was written to restore key provisions of a series of voter-approved ballot measures that give taxpayers, not politicians, more say over when and how new tax revenue is raised. Over the past 45 years, California courts and the legislature have created massive loopholes and confusion in long-established tax law and policy. TPA closes those loopholes and provides new safeguards to increase accountability and transparency over how politicians spend our tax dollars. It eliminates hidden taxes by clearly defining what is a tax or fee and prevents unelected boards and commissions from passing hidden taxes or fees without approval from elected officials or voters. It requires truthful descriptions of new tax proposals by requiring that the tax rate, length of time, new or higher taxes will be in effect, is listed on the ballot, and requires that how the revenue will be spent be clearly identified before the tax or fee is enacted. It gives voters the final say on all new and higher taxes by requiring that new taxes passed by the legislature be approved by voters, and restores the 2/3 vote approval for new and local special tax increases. That last one is especially important, and why I'm here, because Proposition 13 requires that local special taxes, meaning for specific purposes, must receive a 2/3 vote of the electorate in order to pass. In 2017, this clear requirement was weakened by ambiguity in the California Supreme Court's infamous Upland decision. This has enabled special interests to write their own tax increases, direct the money to themselves, and get these self-serving measures passed with only a simple majority. TPA restores Prop 13's 2/3 vote requirement, and it closes this costly loophole. Supporting TPA, as far as we're concerned, is supporting Prop 13. I ask for your support to clarify some comments that were made. The Taxpayer Protection Act stops cities from using fees as hidden taxes by charging taxpayers far more than the reasonable and actual cost of providing service. Local governments who are not using fees to generate additional unrestricted revenue should not be concerned. TPA prohibits local governments from adding unreasonable hidden expenses to the reasonable actual cost of providing a product or service for the purposes of raising additional revenue for unrestricted spending. And I'm good. I'm here to answer any other questions should you have them.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What does it do for the state taxes? So that with you're talking about the cities.
Yes,
for
yes,
the
ma'am.
state, how does that affect?
So currently, the only requirement on the state legislature to pass new taxes is that they require 2/3 vote of both houses. That now that the Democratic Party has a supermajority in both houses, it's very easy for them to get that passed. So the next step is requiring a statewide vote of the electorate, and TPA would require a statewide vote of the electorate for new.
So if they wanted to add another $1 onto the gas tax?
It would have to go to the voters.
Go to the voters.
Yes, which it didn't last time.
Because they're planning on doing that.
Yes. And if TPA was in effect, they would not be able to do that without a vote of the people, a majority vote of the people.
Jane, questions, comments?
Not particularly for you, but
Okay.
just a general
I'll step
comment.
Oh, Councilmember, can you please turn on your microphone?
Thank you. Yeah, definitely a comment. While I am not a fan of taxes in general, I think we really need to take a step back, and I believe this is going to be written and rewritten several times before the actual ballot it comes to vote. And I would encourage my fellow council members to have a postponement of this particular issue. I don't see the rush in this particular support of this issue.
Vice Mayor Daniels, comments?
Yeah, thank you very much. Some interesting comments made there by some of the speakers. We're here today or, with this initiative because of politicians and courts and taking our systems and skewing them for how the people want to have them. This act is I think it's pretty clear. It requires all new taxes passed by the legislature to be approved by the voters. Restores 2/3 voter approval for all new local special taxes, clearly defines what a tax is a tax or a fee, requires an accurate description of new tax proposals, and it holds legislative bodies accountable by requiring them to clearly identify how revenue will be spent before any tax or fee is enacted. What a concept, what a concept. And so, we can take positions on things early as a way of showing our support to other entities that hope that they step up and also do the same. And if this was somehow changed along the way to something that we did not want to support at some point, we can always pull our support. But I think it's important that we show that support. I think this is necessary. I think that it has been proven many, many times that the ability to tax others by voting for a tax increase that doesn't fall on the shoulders of those that have voted for it is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. And so it can destroy. And so we need to get back to a system that is more solid in the 2/3 requirement. And I fully support us moving forward with supporting this effort, and we'll be happy to make that motion.
Thank you. So I have a question. I don't want to take anything out of order. Can I call one of the speakers up? Because I have a question has occurred to me that I'd like to ask.
Yeah, it's within your discretion to do that.
So could Scott Kaufman come up to the podium again, please?
Hello.
Thank you very much. So I'm curious, what other cities have passed a resolution in support of this?
I could get you a formal list, but I know just this week, Laguna Hills and Orange County voted in support. Well, I guess what they actually did is that they voted to ask their staff to write a resolution in support. But yeah, that was just this week on Tuesday that they did that.
Okay.
There are a number.
All right. Any other cities?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get you a list.
Okay. All right. I realize you couldn't have known that I was going to ask a
Yeah.
question.
I do know Laguna Hills because that was just on Tuesday, so that one's fresh in my mind.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. What is the required vote here since we're down a council member?
It'll be, you need 3 out of 4 to pass it.
Okay, 3 out of 4. Okay. All right. So with that, is any other comments or
I
questions?
do have a comment. Now, I'm not worried about our city, being short, because I believe our fees currently reflect exactly what they cost to provide the service, or even less. I think we give away some of our efforts and don't charge our residents enough for some fees, and others just right on the nose. And so I'm not worried that our city is going to have a problem with setting fees. I worry more about the state legislature adding on more taxes and more taxes to an inflation rate that's already too high. So that's why I support it.
So I'm going to say that, that from my perspective, I think that we've been promised over and over and over again what's going to happen with our taxes if we vote for a particular issue. I can think of numerous times where we've been promised that our local tax, we pass a sales tax measure, that we're going to have RT go to the airport. And over and over and over again, it's never happened. So I'm talking about light rail, not, I know you can take a bus there, but nonetheless, so I think that an early vote on this to support this is an important thing, so that, because even though it will probably likely require a 2/3 vote of the electorate here. We need to get started. I know it's a year away, but it takes a long time to get the word out. There's a good reason that all of our public officials that are running for election next year are already campaigning. So I think the campaign needs to start. So with that, can I go to roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Karpinski Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taff?
No.
Councilmember Middleton is absent. Vice Mayor Daniels?
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. So, motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 10. The subject is annexation fiscal impact study, council direction. The recommendation is to review the staff report, receive a presentation, and provide direction to staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Casey Kempenaar, your Community Development Director. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the annexation context before I turn it over to our experts in annexation fiscal analysis. So as you probably have heard, the annexation has been considered by the city quite some time, since really our first general plan in 2000. In 2000, it included a goal that said that we should make adequate land available for economic development activities. And it included a number of actions to look at bringing land into the city's sphere of influence, to have better connections to Interstate 80, and to have opportunities for different types of land use development that we didn't have in the city. So in that vein, in 2007, the city evaluated the fiscal impacts of annexation of Greenback Gateway and the Roseville Point areas. At that time, due to the fiscal impacts and some uncertainties, it was tabled for the time. And then in June, at the strategic planning retreat, the city council directed us, staff, to explore annexation of 4 areas to see if some of those findings had changed. I think there was hope that the outcomes would change from the 2007 study based on, some of the changes that have happened in the city. We started our own police department, so maybe the costs are more efficient. Property values have increased, so we take a little bit more property tax revenue. And some of those things would change how the numbers shook out. Unfortunately, as you'll hear later today, they didn't shake out as good as we had hoped. And that's kind of what we're going to have RSG, our consultants, here tonight, are Jim Simon and Monroe Rush over here, that will be giving a presentation about the methodology that went into the fiscal impact analysis and how we got to the numbers and the outcomes. We worked really closely, the executive team and city manager worked really closely with RSG to evaluate the impacts, starting with our budget and seeing what those fiscal expenditures are, and then also pulling the data for what revenues come in, and you have a delta there, and if the delta is positive, it's good, if it's negative, it brings some challenges. So they're going to walk you through how that methodology occurred, and the executive team's here to answer any questions you may have. And finally, as you know, any annexation requires LAFCO approval. So we do have Jose Henriquez, the executive director of our SAC LAFCO, is here in the audience to answer any technical questions in terms of what LAFCO's process look like and what they look at when they consider annexations. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim and Moreau to give you a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Jim Simon, Principal with RSG. Before we turn it over into the presentation, I just wanted to give a brief introduction about our firm. We are a fiscal consultant based in California here. We've done numerous of these studies. I've been with the firm for 33 years, worked on several annexations and incorporations, including the most recent incorporation proposal that's coming forward for the City of Mountain House in San Joaquin County, going to the voters in next March. Our work here for this annexation took into account a number of best practices that we've formulated over the last several years, and so we can certainly talk about any questions you have on the presentation. But with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Monroe.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and members of the Council. So I just wanted to start by talking a little bit about our goal of this study. Our goal was to identify the incremental increased costs and revenues of annexation on the city's general fund. So this means we're looking at how much additional revenue and cost each area would generate and how those revenues and expenditures would impact the general fund as a whole. I also want to say that we're aware that these unincorporated areas that we studied contribute to the Citrus Heights economy and community in many ways. Residents might be sending their children to schools in Citrus Heights, shopping in Citrus Heights, and working in Citrus Heights. And this study did not quantify the numerous ways that that community is contributing to the city, because those tax dollars are already being incorporated into the city's budget. Instead, like I mentioned, we're looking at the new tax revenue that would be generated for the city if annexation moves forward, which would largely be from property and sales taxes in the unincorporated areas themselves. And then, of course, also projecting new expenditures associated with the study area. So we looked at 4 areas: Roseville Point, Greenback Gateway, Dewey Drive, and Fair Oaks and Madison. Roseville Point is largely made up of residential parcels with some commercial and a mobile home park. There's a sub-area that's the light purple portion of this, which is just the residential portion of Roseville Point. Greenback Gateway is mostly commercial land uses along with a mobile home park. Dewey Drive is a mix of residential and commercial, and it includes the Mercy San Juan Medical Center and the surrounding medical offices. Dewey Drive Oakbrook, which is in light green and is just that jog at the southern portion of the city, is made up of residential parcels and a nursing facility. And then Fair Oaks and Madison is commercial parcels and a one multifamily parcel. It's not likely that the city would annex all of these areas at the same time, and so we have broken apart expenditures and revenues by each area on its own, but this presentation will be looking at annexation of all 4 areas together. So, as part of our fiscal impact analysis, we forecasted general fund revenues and expenditures 10 years into the future. We also looked at some non-general fund activity, which largely impacts the General Services Department. General fund revenue is largely made up of property and sales taxes, utility users tax, and other fees. And then expenditures are primarily associated with the police department. We held interviews with key staff, including the police department, General Services Department, and Administrative Services Department. And we made several assumptions in order to help inform the way that we were thinking about the way service is being provided in these areas. So we're assuming that the city would be providing services at the city's level of service standard. So this impacts services ranging from the number of times the roads are swept, to the way police services are deployed, to the frequency of infrastructure improvements. So we're assuming that these services are going to be provided in line with the city's standards, regardless of how they're being provided by the county right now. We projected law enforcement costs based on calls for service data that we received from the sheriff. We looked at per capita costs for some other revenues and expenditures. And then we looked at variability of costs for departments. So we know that some departments will not be as impacted by an increased population as others. The police department's expenditures will be highly dependent on the number of people they are serving, whereas the city council, for example, will not be as impacted. So overall, we did find that in the study areas as a whole, costs exceed revenues. So this slide just kind of shows a breakdown between the study areas combined as well as each of the 4 individual study areas. And while these areas do generate some significant sales tax revenue, unfortunately, again, for all 4 areas, costs do exceed revenues, especially when we look at capital expenditures. So we're going to start by talking about property taxes. There is not currently a master property tax sharing agreement in place with the county, which is typically what would dictate the way that property taxes are shared between a city and an area that is getting annexed. So we made assumptions about the amount of property tax that the city could expect to receive through an agreement based on other annexations that have happened in the county. The conclusions that we've shown in our study, as well as throughout this presentation, are at a mid-level scenario, but we did look at several higher scenarios where the city would maybe collect more property taxes, and even under those higher scenarios, costs exceed revenues. We will note that property taxes for annexations are difficult across the state, in part because of the cities are not collecting property tax in lieu of motor vehicle license fees for annexed areas. There is not a mechanism in state law to allow cities to do that. And for some context, that property tax in lieu revenue makes up about 24% of general fund expenditures for the city. So this is a pretty significant revenue source that the city would not be collecting in the study areas. We also looked at sales taxes in the study areas and estimate that businesses in each of these 4 areas collectively total approximately about $211 million annually. And we assumed that the city and county would split the sales tax evenly, which is pretty typical of annexations. Our analysis did not include projections of sales tax for undeveloped parcels in Roseville Point. There are 2 of those parcels owned by a storage company and a petroleum company, and we did not project sales taxes based on any economic development activity. So under these assumptions, we are projecting that the city could collect about $1.1 million in total sales taxes annually. And then other franchise fees, fines, and forfeitures we're projecting could total approximately $743,000 annually. All right, now we'll get into the expenditures. So based on interviews with city staff, we anticipate significant operating costs for the police department and significant capital costs for general services. Revenues and costs, or these costs differ between the different study areas, so that's worth looking at, especially based on whether or not the character of the study area is residential. So we assumed some increases in general government and administrative services based on per capita cost, which total $354,000 in 2025-26. This is in line with an increase in the population of the city, so we're going to see that those departments have some impacts. And if we look at administrative services, we see that their increased costs are largely due to increased personnel that are needed for the police department. So we projected increased costs for human resources and information services, human resources and information services based on that increased personnel. And then for risk management, we were able to get some insurance claims data from the county, and we were able to make projections about the claims that the city could expect in annexation of these areas if annexation were to move forward. All right. So for the police department, like I mentioned, we were able to get calls for service data for each of the individual sub-areas from the sheriff's department. We worked very closely with staff in the police department to make projections about these costs. So we anticipate that annexation of these 4 areas could increase calls for service by about 7%. That would therefore require a 7.5% increase in personnel, which include 1 detective, 2 dispatchers, 2 records assistants, 6 police officers, and 1 part-time animal control officer. Those increased positions have a total cost of about $1.6 million. And there's also no equipment need for those staff in their first year of service that include things like uniforms, vehicles, that types of thing. Those equipment costs are about $124,000 per new officer in the first year of their tenure. I want to note that although these increases result in a fairly high additional cost for law enforcement services, the corresponding cost in police costs would be in line on a per capita basis with some other jurisdictions in the county. It also does maintain the approximate current per capita cost of providing law enforcement services to residents within the city. So this slide is showing the cost and cost per capita after annexation. Currently, the cost per capita of providing police services is about $268 per person. This obviously is showing a small increase, but after the first year with your equipment costs, it drops back down to about $271 per person. General Services is another department where we see significant impacts. So we are projecting a small increase in operating costs, mostly associated with the increased direct cost of providing services to the community. So things like operation of the community centers, providing community events. But our interviews with staff raised concerns about maintenance and infrastructure challenges within the study area. These costs include maintenance costs along Roseville Road, slurry sealing for all roads in the study area, and streetlight maintenance. We did amortize these costs across 10 years to show the impact. Slurry sealing isn't happening every year, but we want to make sure that the city is aware of what that impact will look like. We also did not include a significant capital improvement project that would be needed for Roseville Road. Roseville Road is in need of some design updates to add pedestrian and bicycle facilities, environmental review, and resurfacing. So these costs, again, which are not included here, could total $32 million, and those costs are based on the current costs of the San Juan Complete Streets project. We did also look at some other funds that fund the General Services Department. So we looked at the four most significant non-general fund sources and projected these on a per capita basis. So under annexation, we're showing a deficit of $66,000, which indicates that the other funds that General Services Department uses would not be able to cover the other capital improvements needed. So overall, our projected expenditures for all of the study areas exceed the projected new revenues. So this leads annexation to be fiscally negative. There are some ways to increase revenue, such as negotiating a better tax sharing agreement with the county and economic development activities. There also are revenue enhancements, such as increased taxes, which I know we just heard about, that the city could levy on a parcel-by-parcel basis to cover the increased costs. Those are shown in the bottom table. Ultimately, however, there is a $3.6 million shortfall, so that parcel tax is pretty significant. I'm going to move on to talk about LAFCO policies for what next steps might look like. So the first step would be updating the city's sphere of influence to include these study areas, and then submitting an application to LAFCO, and LAFCO would have a commission public hearing. There is not necessarily automatically an election for these areas to decide whether or not they want to be part of the city. But at the authority protest hearing, if there is more than 25% protest votes, the city would be required to hold an election. And if there was greater than 50% protest, annexation proceedings would terminate. So with that, I am going to open it up to questions.
Oh, let's break this up a little bit. So I have a question with regard to the Home Depot and the sales tax revenue there. So you show on agenda packet 91, you show the total for Roseville Point at 339,211. I went on to Home Depot's website, you look at a prospectus, and it says that their average sales is $627.17 per square foot. They have, total store square footage is 241 million. Total Home Depot locations is 2322. You make the division, and that makes each location on average 103,798.8 square feet. Multiply that times 627, comes up to 65,093. That's the average sales for a year for Home Depot. You multiply that times the 1% that we get, and those calculations almost double what you're projecting. So you're projecting 339, and based on the calculation I just shared with you, that comes to 650,938 just for Home Depot, not including any of the other businesses that are in there or the projected businesses for the vacant lots that are in the area. So how do you explain that?
Yeah, so a couple of things. First, we're assuming that you're splitting the sales tax revenue so that you're not getting that full 1%. Again,
Why is that?
Well, no, that wouldn't, actually, that's not correct. It's, the first issue is that there's 2 Home Depots within a very close proximity of the area. So it's very unlikely that both stores have an average sales volume of the typical store average. We did look at other data around how the city's sales are performing and use that as a guidepost. I would, obviously, the availability of information on any one location is not available. It's proprietary information, so, we can't speak to what the exact sales of any business are. And given the number of businesses within the study area, what we had to do was do estimates based upon various data sources, not including the one that you just mentioned. So I acknowledge that there could be some additional sales tax from this location. Unfortunately, we just don't know what that exact store's performance is going to be.
I just want to comment. So you said there was another Home Depot in close proximity to that one. Which one are you referring to? The only one I know of is Carmichael, which is one near I live. But I actually drive quite a bit of distance to go to that particular Home Depot on Antelope Road because it's a better store. They have a rental shop there. It's a much better store than the one in Carmichael. So which one is closer? What's the close one that's there?
The Manzanita one would be the other one that's in the
That's the one I'm talking
general
about,
trade
the one in
area.
Carmichael, Manzanita.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a distance.
Yeah, I think in retail trade area talk, though, that's not that far. And Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only a couple miles in terms of retail trade and where they draw from, but.
Okay. So, all right, well, any other questions from council members?
I'm just overwhelmed. Why do we share sales tax? Isn't it, once we annex in an area, isn't it ours? It's never ours? We
No,
have to
you would.
share everything?
It would be, you would, of the total sales tax, you're getting 1% of that amount, yes.
What, but you said sales tax sharing. So we're still getting the sales tax, our usual 1 cent on whatever it is, right?
yeah, and so
It's no different than sharing the stores that are already in the city.
yeah, and where that's coming from is from other annexation agreements that we're seeing in Sacramento County.
But don't we already share the sales tax with, like, sales taxes?
I don't understand the word sharing.
Yeah, we already kind of do share the sales tax with the county. We don't get all the sales tax.
No, irregular.
Yeah.
Sure, we have Mr. Mayor, we have our share that we get right now based on, for instance, in our budget, when we do our budget and brief, we break down every dollar of sales tax and every dollar of property tax that we get in our existing city limits. I guess part of the question that I'm hearing, and one that I'd want to defer to RSG and/or our representative from LAFCO is, are you referencing under a negotiated tax sharing agreement for an
Exactly.
annexation area?
Right.
Would that be different than our existing incorporation? If you could
Correct.
spend
Yeah,
some
well-
time on that, that would be helpful.
Thank you, we'll clarify that. So yes, it is, you do get a 1% share within the corporate city limits, but on an annexation agreement, you have no master agreement with the county. So what is negotiated and split is a pure negotiation between the county, and that includes not just property tax, but sales tax. And so when you look at, so what we had to do is, we had to say, well, we don't know, of course, know what the county is going to negotiate with you on this particular annexation, but looking at other annexations, the county has typically kept half of that 1% that you would otherwise get. So you're seeing only half of that share. So that's a big difference from what you're seeing in the rest of the city.
Is this because they
Now, that's a
come up with their
negotiation,
set of
just trying to
numbers,
be
like
clear.
your set of numbers, they come up with their set of numbers and say that this is the cost that we're getting from them? I mean, do they look at the income they receive and we see it, you know?
No, the county's going to look at this. I can't speak for the county. I'm not a county representative, but I will tell you the way the county's probably going to look at this is they're going to say, this is an area that generates revenue for us that we use to pay for services throughout our county. We're not going to necessarily give you all of the taxes that come
So
from
they
this
don't
area.
subtract the cost of their not having to provide the services anymore?
Well, they'll take that in consideration, but it's a negotiation. It's not a math formula. That's what I'm trying to explain. And when you look at how the other agreements have been done in Elk Grove and in other locations, which we can certainly mention, you know, that's this typical practice of the counties taken. And this is not uncommon outside of Sacramento County either, I'll add, unless there are situations where you may have had a grandfathered master tax agreement where it's just property tax. But in this case, it's both property tax and sales tax.
So, I don't know who to ask this question to, but I've looked at the property tax breakdown, and we still share property tax with the county in Citrus, even for the incorporated area of Citrus Heights. We get 1%, but there's actually a 2%, and the county takes 1%, and we take 1%. So that means in the unincorporated area of the county, they're getting 2%. So they're saying that, you're saying that they would not share, that we couldn't negotiate and say, okay, well, we'll just take our regular 1%, and so you're gonna say, well, they're
They're
gonna
going to
take.
basically, if they're getting,
1.5%,
they're getting 2%, you said, in this area
Something
today.
like that. I
Yeah, so
don't
they
have the
would
numbers right in
basically,
front of me.
that you'd get about in this scenario that we're talking about, which is the basic, you know, review of how things have been done, you know, in the last several annexations of any significance in the county. You know, you're looking at about, you know, you would get about 0.5%, and the county would keep that 1.5%.
When was the last annexation of a city? Was that Rancho Cordova or Folsom, or where did that last annexation with the county happen lately, and when did it happen?
Jose might be able to speak to this more, but I will note quickly that we also looked for annexations where there were commercial areas. So I saw in other annexation agreements, there might be a slightly higher property tax sharing where the city is receiving more property taxes than we projected. But in those agreements, it says that if the city develops that into anything that's not residential, then the agreement would be renegotiated. So we had to look very specifically for annexations that were matching something similar to what was happening here. I don't know. Jose, is there anything more to say there?
The last annexation was the city of Galt, in 2021.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff.
Thank you.
My name is Jose Enriquez. I'm the executive officer for Sacramento LAFCO. To your question about the last annexation that occurred, it was to the city of Galt. And there were 3 annexations in 2021 that LAFCO finished. The one annexation involved completely undeveloped land. The second annexation was a mixture of rural, residential, and undeveloped land. And then the third annexation related to the annexation of an island of already developed residential land that was unincorporated, right smack in the middle of the city. So they annexed it to fill in that island. So those are the 3 different types. I think too, Ms. Rush's comment, you know, you can look at those 3 annexations. Certainly, it's a valid thing to do. But in terms of the types of mixes of uses that you're looking at, since these are already primarily, overwhelmingly already developed lands, you need to kind of do a one-to-one comparison to kind of come up to arrive at an estimate that would give you kind of an idea of what exactly or how much revenue you could see should you proceed with the annexation. So I think it's from putting on my academic hat, from an economic development standpoint, the formula that RSG used is extremely valid.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have any questions. I'll just wait for you to open up comments.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments for the? No?
I'm so lost, I don't have nothing to say. I think what really was the disappointing part for me is that the whole study assumes we're voting on all four simultaneously. So when you come up with your numbers of the police department and the general services and administrative services, you're lumping four different actions in one. So it was hard for me to separate out in my brain any one annexable area and make a decision on it because it was so mishmashed as a group. And you even said at the beginning, we wouldn't be voting on them as a whole, but your whole presentation was as a whole. And so if we were interested in one little one, it was very difficult for me to make a judgment on that. So I'm at a loss for any decision.
For sure. And I will note, in the actual memo, all of the tables are broken apart by study
I
areas.
started to tear them apart with a pair of scissors. I printed it off, and I thought, let me just cut out each, but it got to be overwhelming. So, and I figured you got paid to do it. I didn't.
Yeah, we tried to show aggregate and then individual too, so happy to answer any specific questions you have. We tried to look at.
And I need a magnifying glass to see these numbers.
I was wondering, there is a slide, I believe, that has them broken down by area, if that would be helpful for the council to take a look at.
That?
Maybe an explanation of the various study areas. These correspond to the map that's in your packet, but this shows the revenues, operating expenditures, and capital expenditures for each one of the specific study areas with the surplus and deficits down below. And then they show them, if you go to the right side, there's two columns, one that's Roseville Point, all residential, under that scenario if you had it without the commercial, but the Fair Oaks and Madison is the one that's closest to being fiscally neutral.
So, there's this one, this figure 2 is tiny little numbers, and then then you did them individually, demographic information, you lumped them together, and then you go study parcel breakdowns, everything's lumped. So I particularly was interested in the Fair Oaks and Madison, so I'm trying to pull it out. And it's like zero really burden on a lot of those departments that you said were fiscally negative, were neutral or zero for this particular annexation option, that little teeny corner at Fair Oaks and Madison. And the biggest thing there was to pave the street. And so I went and looked at it. The part of the street that's really good is in front of this building on the corner. The crap road starts when you get into the city limit. So the county has got their side done. And so I don't know, I thought, okay, well, what else would they look at? So I just don't believe your number. I don't think that it would cost that much to annex that little teeny corner.
So,
Can you speak to what happens if that roadway gets paved?
yeah, so we did, Director Cave is working with Sacramento County to consider the paving of Madison all the way from Fair Oaks, from San Juan all the way to Fair Oaks. And if that were the case, obviously the expenses for the maintenance costs and repaving would drop dramatically.
But there's only one parcel that's in the county, and that's at the end of Madison to Fair Oaks. That's one building. The parking lot that comes out of the new Ace Hardware, that's where the bad road starts going into the city. The rest of it going this way is clean, straight. flag.
Good evening, Councilmember. Regina Cave, General Services Director. We had to take into consideration the entire intersection as well, not just the paving immediately adjacent in front of the Ferrari building, because part of our agreement that we have with county, shared agreement, would actually take us all the way into that intersection. So I had to factor in a very conservative estimate for that entire intersection and amortize that over 10 years, which brought us to a slurry seal with additional.
Does the county share in that cost?
That would be for our cost. That would be our cost. And the assumption would be that Sac County would still control that intersection in terms of traffic signal maintenance, as they do for Sunrise and all the other intersections throughout Madison Avenue. But we would still have to pay for the large sum of the frontage in front of the Ferrari building, halfway into the intersection, and then also north up on Fair Oaks, because we would be annexing all of that property along the Fair Oaks side as well. But like Casey did mention, we are coordinating with Sacramento County for a full restoration of Madison Avenue from San Juan through Fair Oaks. So if that does go into place before annexation or even after annexation, that would take care of that cost, and we would just have long-term minimal maintenance of that intersection.
Which then puts it in the positive side. For
Correct.
us,
Correct.
because that's all commercial. Although it does, there's that one condominium complex there.
The apartments, yeah. Any other questions on infrastructure?
No.
Thank you, Regina. Director Cave. Here's where,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm guessing you're taking comments now, so.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, okay. So could I have the map that's showing the 4 different areas be brought back up? So a lot of good work, a lot of hard work, oh my goodness, and whatnot, and just some things that, for me, I think we should move forward, but it would be with a very much scaled down effort. For me, I'll take these in reverse order. I would drop the, I can't quite see if they have the A and the B on this map, but in our packet, we had them 4A, 4B, that kind of a thing. So 4B is the major area, the Dewey, Madison, Manzanita area. I feel that we just drop any consideration of that whatsoever. Just get it out of the game, get it out of the consideration. Those people will not want to come into Citrus Heights. That is Carmichael, and they're not going to give up their Carmichael to come into Citrus Heights, and especially if there's any chance that it would have to come with taxing themselves to do so. So I think we should just drop that from any conversation. On the 4A part, the little hook there, that's just a cleanup, and I'm neutral on it. And if it happens, great. If it didn't happen, whatever. But to me, that's something that the county should look at as just a cleanup, and we should be able to receive anything that we would normally receive from there, whether it be property tax, sales tax, without having to share it, because again, that's a cleanup. That's nothing more than that. Going to 3, which is my memory right? 3 was the I think the Fair Oaks Madison area, if I'm remembering right.
Yes.
Again, I'm neutral on that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's just a small little thing that if we can't figure out how to get it done easily, and if the county can't figure out that that's just a cleanup, and they shouldn't fight us for anything again that we're entitled to have there, then they can just keep it, and they can come and respond to it for police services and stuff like that. With 2, which is the Greenback Gateway, I'm fine with dropping that. Again, that's just that I think it just works better that's Citrus Heights because of how Greenback Lane comes out to the freeway. But the reality of it is, it doesn't bring us much in the sense of a benefit to the city to have those areas. There's limited commercial. There's a huge cemetery. There's an office complex, and that's about it. I can live without that. I would rather have it because I think the county neglects it tremendously. And when people come off the freeway, they feel or they think they're in Citrus Heights, I should say, and they point the finger at us as to why there's potholes there and garbage and homeless people when we don't have any control over that area. And I think that basically takes us down to the Roseville Antelope area. On the what was 1B, which was the Home Depot in that area. I think the biggest part of that expense that we've seen for police services and stuff like that have to be coming from those areas. And if they pencil out to where they're not worth it, then I don't need them. And they can keep Home Depot, so I don't care really. What I'm more concerned about is the 1A area, and that's the Roseville Point subdivision. That is simply, again, an oversight from when we became a city. The county should not fight us with anything on that. We actually take a burden off of them by taking that area, because the people there aren't going to see typically police services in that area other than to respond to a call maybe. And so I would like to see us focus that area, and also, of course, the empty lot that's now being developed finally, and whatnot. And hopefully we could sit down with the county and say, this is going to be to your benefit too. You're not going to have to come over here. You're not going to have to handle Roseville Road. And we take care of this, but we will obviously need money to take care of that. And I want to speak to just Roseville Road, actually. Two things about Roseville Road. Number one is the horrible design, the absolute horrible design of Roseville Road and how wide it is. My memory is, and this could be wrong, but my memory is that it's so wide because the back of the homes had to be a certain distance from the railroad or something like that. And that could be wrong. But to me, you could take that area of Roseville Road and redesign it and lose a lot of the asphalt in the process, and maybe even create something over there that's much more aesthetically beautiful than a big asphalt jungle. And at the same time, reduce what is a very dangerous area because it's so wide and people in their speeds, passing each other on the right, and just doing crazy things out there all the time. We don't need that asphalt. And so there is a way I feel that we could narrow that down and do something more aesthetically pleasing with that area. And then in the future, obviously not have to incur the maintenance of that road and have it. And then the second part of that is, the bottom line is, that's a highly, highly, highly regional use road. The people that go on that road are more from the Antelope area to the Roseville area. And yeah, Citrus Heights residents use it too. But if you watch traffic flows over in that area, you'll see that people get on that road, and the great majority of them head out to Roseville, obviously, or head out to the Antelope area. And so, and especially with the great development that's going on in Antelope and the extra money that the county's getting already in that area, I would hope that we could sit down and maybe pare this whole project down and have them be reasonable about what we should receive in taking care of these, what I'll call mostly cleanups. We're not asking, for, to annex a mall in or something like that. These are simply cleanups that should have happened a long time ago. And I think that they hopefully can be convinced the reasonableness of doing that. I guess that's it for now.
Jane?
Yeah, I have to agree with Vice Mayor Daniels, and really looking at agenda packet, page 91, I think I am in agreement that we should pursue the last three columns, which is the Fair Oaks Madison corner, the Roseville Point residential portion, which is your light purple indication, and your Dewey Drive light green indication on this map.
And I agree with you, Jane. That's that weird little cutout where only the church is in the city and all the rest of those homes are.
4A? What is it? I didn't look at that parcel map. What's in 4A?
I don't know.
You have to look at this map now, in front of you, Jana.
This one, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't say what that is. Is that homes, residential?
That's primarily residential. There's a skilled nursing facility. It's been under construction for a long time there. Excuse me.
Is it one parcel?
No, it's more than one parcel. It's probably
Yeah, it wasn't
a
clear.
dozen parcels in there. Yeah, I certainly echo Jane Taff and Vice Mayor Daniels' comments in that I think that little cutout that's really doesn't make any sense, the Dewey Drive, Oak Brook area, and just the residential part of Roseville Point, and then looking again at Fair Oaks and Madison. Those are ones we really need to sort of scale this whole thing back and relook at these numbers. Unless we can do this, is this something that is you're capable of doing this right here, or should we just carry this item forward to the next meeting or to another time, or what are your thoughts?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I believe while this was looking at various study areas and there was a totality, if you were to do them all, they all have been looked at, if I'm not mistaken, as individual annexation areas. And each one of those are coming in where they're having a deficit to serve it. The expenditures are in excess of what the projected revenues would be to serve those areas. And so they have been looked at individually. The one that looks like it would be fiscally neutral and would trend fiscally, it would be fiscally positive once the Madison Avenue improvements were done, is the Fair Oaks and Madison corner. The other residential areas that we're speaking to on these various columns, in order to have it be fiscally neutral for the city, they would have to come up with an assessment. And if the council would like, as part of this, I mean, the next step, if you'd want us to do outreach with those neighbors, we'd have to talk about those type of things. And so the study has looked at those as individual areas. If you want to go over those individual areas again and look at those specific numbers, we can certainly do that tonight.
But again, what I'm hearing you say is, like the Dewey Drive, the green area down there, that whole thing, I'm just interested in that little weird shape that's the only thing I'm interested in, that
4A.
small piece right there.
4A.
Yeah, I'd like it if I think we're looking at the map, we need to have that correspond to the table. So if you can please explain the hook, because I do believe you have that as an individual area.
The far right column on the screen shows Dewey Drive, Oak Brook. That's the smaller piece of the larger Dewey Drive green area that you're referring to. So you can still see there's about a $300,000 deficit there. The column immediately to the left of that is Roseville Point, only the residential portion of Roseville Point, and that has about an $810,000 deficit for that. So one of the things.
So is that an ongoing deficit, or is that the first year?
That's
or
an
it's
ongoing
for the next
amortized.
10 years, or?
So this is annual, so that would be ongoing. I will note that for the Oak Brook portion, that those $306,000 of expenditures does include that one-time $124,000 of startup costs for law enforcement. We assumed that the police department would hire one officer for that area.
For that little, there's only like 10 homes or something in there. It's not very big. That's just the one Oak Brook, just in that little hook right there.
And
I
I will
live right
also-
there. I mean, there's not very many homes there. I can't imagine $124,000 for a police officer to service those, I don't know how many homes there are, 10 maybe? Really
There's
hard to,
32 parcels, I believe, total there.
Yeah,
okay.
we could certainly look at that again. I know that another concern for that area was just with the hospital being right there,
Which?
that there
Oh,
might be some spillover impacts from the hospital.
Well, we approve parcels in our city. We don't attach police services to the analysis, do we? So if you wanted to put 20 parcels on a couple acres of land, do we look at adding police services to that?
I think we do.
For a new subdivision, do we look at that? We don't generally do a fiscal analysis on every development that comes in, no.
Only if we annex them, not if we build.
Well, the findings are different if you're in an annexed area versus already existing in the city. As mentioned, the motor vehicle and LUFI, which is a substantial chunk of our budget, is not something that comes in with annexation, so it's a totally different equation.
I have an additional question. Can you show the slide again about the cost sharing? I think it's one of your last graphics. Because that is an impact on the potential residents in those residential areas.
Yeah, if I could, are you talking about the parcel tax for study area that's on the bottom there?
And this would be the amounts that each parcel owner would be responsible for,
That's correct.
potentially.
Yeah, one of the things that LAFCO looks at is, one of the considerations is that it has to be generally fiscally neutral and can't impact city services. And so in order to, just the basic math, in order for these parcels to be annexed into the city, the math equals what's shown there per parcel that they would have to vote to keep the city fiscally whole in terms of the annexation area.
Annually.
Annually, correct.
Got it.
And that comes on a property tax, like a Melrose kind of thing?
They would have to vote themselves in. Yeah, it'd be similar to it's like a CFD or, it's just a parcel tax that's assigned to their specific parcel.
Boy, if I paid that much every year, I'd be calling the PD every other day, like $3,000 worth.
But aren't these also assuming the county not being as generous in negotiations as we would like?
This is the middle of the road, I believe, that's shown here. So it was another 5% approximately different. So it'd be about 5% lower.
So in theory, then let me just say this, because maybe I'm just not getting it. So I live in one part of the city and I pay my property taxes and I get all these wonderful things from the city. Somebody who lives in Roseville Point pays their property taxes and somehow they're an extra burden to where they would need to pay $3,300 more somehow. I don't understand how we can get to that number when you can give me the same services without that $3,300.
Yeah, I can completely understand the question. And that's simply because the city of Citrus Heights is receiving less revenue from the area in Roseville Point than it would in another part of the city limits today.
Assumed to receive less, right?
Assumed, right. These are assumptions we're making about what you would negotiate.
Correct. So if we sat down with the county and said, we're just trying to clean up this section here and it's to your benefit too, we don't know exactly, maybe they'll play hardball, maybe they won't play hardball, maybe they'll be reasonable, maybe they wouldn't. But it is possible that then you do not need to have that extra cost passed on to those residents, correct?
No, not necessarily. If even under the high scenario that was assumed under negotiating with the county, there's still a deficit across the board. So even what was shown on the screen is the middle scenario, which is kind of on average, but the high scenario, which is higher than we get now for the city, still projects a deficit in each of the planning areas.
And then please answer my question again. How can I live in the city and I get all these wonderful things when I pay my property taxes, I buy things and pay sales taxes and stuff like that. But if I live across the street in Roseville Point, somehow I'm going to cost the city that much more.
I think,
I capture that. I can't capture that.
Can I
in my
jump
mind.
in here for just a second?
Absolutely.
I think what's really important for all of us to remember, because I really place a high value on defining terms. Annexation is annexation, and that has magic math that goes with it. And incorporated city is the math that we're currently living in. Once you go from incorporated to annexation, there's a totally different math calculation involved. And so for me, keeping that straight, I'm not assuming apples and apples. Incorporated city gets what the services and benefits on this calculated math price, and an annexation is a totally different, that's your banana. So
And I
it's,
agree, Jane. I agree, Jane, totally. But what I've heard, and again, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, is the pot of gold is the pot of gold. It's just how it's divvied up. And so,
Well, I want to point out, I mean, when you compare Roseville Point, an entirely residential area, to the entire city of Citrus Heights, which has commercial land uses, which generally generate more revenues, as some of our analysis has shown, than their costs, it's going to look different. So the resident who lives in the city limits today is still paying the same amount of taxes, but the services that are being provided to them are not just funded from their taxes, but from the commercial taxes that are coming along with them being in the city limits. When you're annexing just a residential neighborhood, there is no commercial taxes coming along with that.
So those 2 vacant parcels that are vacant today,
Those could be something in the future,
they are
certainly.
already to be something. What was it, a Arco gas station and a,
Yeah,
Sonic Burger.
so would that change the numbers when those businesses move in?
it did change, they did run the numbers roughly without knowing what they're gonna produce until they're online, but it looks like, they projected 12,000 in sales tax revenue between both the two parcels, and about 11,800 in property tax revenue. So in the scheme of things, in a significant deficit, it would help, but it's not gonna get you over the hump.
It helps.
And I think if I could add to, and this is something that might be helpful to expand upon, but, and you spoke to it briefly. The City of Citrus Heights, when we incorporated, we had the benefit of having major commercial corridors within the city limits. We actually, some communities have leakage of their sales tax revenue. If you look at a per capita sales tax revenue that we receive as a city, it's pretty high. It's probably higher than what our residents actually spend every year, because we are actually having people from adjoining unincorporated areas coming into our city to shop at our major commercial corridors, at Sunrise Marketplace. So we actually generate more sales tax beyond what our residents produce. So we're benefiting from that. And that's part of the reason why incorporation, I think, worked in the first place, because we, had a pretty high rate of sales tax from a per capita standpoint. When these new areas come in, the assumption is they're already contributing to that sales tax rate. So you're not getting any additional sales tax to offset these costs from what we already have. So we're looking solely at property tax, and then any sales tax that's generated in that area, that would be subject to a negotiated agreement with the county. But I think even on, the highest to high property tax scenarios, like if the county says, yeah, we're gonna be very generous with you, I think we're still in a deficit situation. So I think that that's what the data shows. If we wanted to have a further breakdown on those areas and go deeper on those for the council, certainly we could. But I think that that's really kind of the bottom line of what this analysis shows.
I think what I want to say as far as final comments are concerned, we embarked on this process because we cared about the residents that were in these outlying areas who felt kind of islands for especially police services, emergency services. This is why we really undertook wanting to look at these areas, because we felt a compassion for the residents who felt, very distant from receiving timely services, emergency services in particular. Now that we know the numbers in the final analysis, for me, I think we should be very cautious in our hoping that it will turn into the positive when we see the numbers as they are, as negative as they are at this time. I think what's reasonable for me at this time would be to negotiate or continue to explore, would Fair Oaks and Madison, that little opportunity there, would they be open to it? Because that is our most neutral annexation area.
Like, so the Dewey Drive Oak Brook is a neighborhood that I live in, and I know a lot of those people that live on those streets, and a lot of those people bought their homes in the 60s and they're in their 80s. To go to them and say, yeah, $9,000 a year, it would be crushing. It just would, I mean, yeah, so, anyhow. Any other comments?
If we do everything that we are all talking about, I'd still like to work on our sphere of influence to include that Home Depot, so that in the future, you know, we don't, maybe something will happen over there. There's a nice big industrial splotch over there, some industrial zoned property. We don't have any industrial property. So if we did our sphere of influence at the same time, if we have to do anything.
How do we put that in motion?
Well, I'm just suggesting it as,
Okay.
you know, we might want to, they said your first step is to do your sphere of influence. So we include it all. It doesn't mean we have to eat it all up. We just, it's in there. That's why it's called a sphere.
Okay. All right. I still don't quite understand how to put that in words here, so,
Well, I don't know what you do about your blip, your little green blip over there.
yeah, nothing.
I think we need to talk to the county, maybe have our city manager work with the county to see about these, what Brett calls the, what do you call them, Brett? The fill-in areas? The little
The cleanup area.
cleanups.
Council, if I could help with this one. I think in Canada, we have numbers, we have some analysis that's been complete. If the council wants me to reach out to the county exec and just have a conversation about this to see if they'd say, oh yeah, we'd love to work with you on that, and we're gonna be very generous, and we can find a way to make it fiscally neutral, and we minimize an assessment on the resident, I'm happy to have that conversation. If that's the direction you'd like me to take, or just, you know, kind of feel it out with them, and then for those specific areas that you referenced earlier, maybe that's the best course of action. But I think when you look at the numbers right now where they're at, I mean, in some of these scenarios, you'd say, okay, please please slurry seal all the roadways in this area, please bring it to me, you know, perfect, and then we can consider it. Because oftentimes on annexations, I think it's actually relatively, it's more common to see annexations of undeveloped land, because when you're annexing that undeveloped land into a city, you have the commercial development opportunities, you have the local control of what it's gonna be, and then in addition to that, you're getting brand-new infrastructure. And oftentimes in today's world, you're able to kind of set up assessments that are gonna pay for that infrastructure in the long term. So in this case, we're annexing infrastructure that was built some time ago that's, in need, it's in various states of decay or, different conditions. And so that's why the numbers are in a big way why they are. Of course, police services are high in some of these areas too. But ultimately, if you'd like me to go talk to the county about those areas and see if there's anything that we can do, to make a better deal, I'm happy to have that conversation. But I don't know, looking at more analysis and things of that nature, I think we kind of have a pretty good general understanding of what the numbers are. So I just wanted to put that out there if you'd like that for consideration.
I agree with that. I think that's a great idea, Ash. Maybe they're, in a sense too, that in some of these areas, if not all of the ones we've talked about at the end here, we're doing them a favor in a sense. And so, I'd like to see how they feel about that. It just seems like, maybe I'm just too optimistic and have too much faith or whatever, but it just seems like it should be a positive relationship, a positive conversation. So I'd like to see that. And then I'd also like to hear back at some point how Galt made it work with that last annexation of residential basically within the city. If they can make it work, I'm wondering, how that was the case and why that would be different. And I would think that for tonight, I would support just taking no action on this at this point.
Well, what our task is to do is to provide staff with direction, and I think we have done that. Anybody disagree?
So I think just I'll look to our city clerk, can we do a general consensus on what I described about approaching the county with the numbers and seeing if they're interested in having a conversation of how to make this maybe a mutually beneficial thing? Does that sound like the
We'll
we're
call
good?
Ash, is that the motion? Can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Truthfully, Mayor, you don't really need if you want to have a motion, you could, but I think the direction that the city
Okay.
manager's given and the head nodding from the council members to take that, I think is sufficient direction for staff.
Okay, great. All right.
Head nodding.
So I think we can move on to the next item now. That was painful. All right, next item, please.
So our next item is item number 11 on the regular calendar. The subject is ordinance of the City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, repealing Citrus Heights Municipal Code, Chapter 78, Article 3, Prohibition against intrusive and unsafe panhandling, Section 78-50 to 78-54. The recommendation is to introduce for a first reading and read by title only and waive the full reading of an ordinance amending Municipal Code, Chapter 78, Article 3.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. Ryan Jones, your city attorney. Wanted to, along with our police chief, Chief Turcotte, we're bringing to the council a first reading to repeal what the city clerk mentioned, which is the so-called panhandling ordinance, which is in Citrus Heights Municipal Code, Section 7850 to 54. And the reason we're doing that is in light of recent changes in the law regarding constitutionality, specifically free speech associated with ordinances such as this. Staff has concerns about the legality and the language in this ordinance. And so we're recommending at this point that the council hold the first reading to go ahead and repeal this ordinance. Just a reminder to the council and to the community, there still is state law that is in place that addresses a lot of the issues there with regard to things in the penal code and in the vehicle code. So those are not being repealed. We don't have the authority to repeal state law, but those are still in effect and give the police certain tools to deal with issues. And the intent of staff is to bring back a revised ordinance at the December meeting to address this. So that's the overview. It's, if there's any questions the council has for me or for the police chief, we are happy to answer them this evening.
Questions from council members?
No.
Vice Mayor Daniels, I see you're away, muted. There you are. Any questions? No?
No questions.
Okay, no. Seeing no questions,
I move,
are
introduce.
there any public comments on this item?
Any public comment?
I have not received any.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
You can make a motion, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Jump right in.
Then I recommend we introduce the first reading and read by title only, and waive the full reading of ordinance number 2023 whatever, an ordinance of City Council of the City of Citrus Heights, California, repealing Citrus Heights Municipal Code, Chapter 78, Article 3, Prohibition against intrusive and unsafe panhandling, Sections 78-50 to 78-54.
Have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Karpinski-Casa, a second by Lopez Taff. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Karpinski-Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taft?
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels?
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. The item passes. Next item, please.
Next item is regular calendar item number 12. The subject is school resource officer options, and staff has prepared 3 alternate resolutions for council's consideration. The first is authorizing use of general fund to fund 2 additional police officer positions to be assigned to the high schools in Citrus Heights. The second is authorizing the use of ARPA funding to fund 2 additional police officers assigned to high schools in Citrus Heights. And the third is directing city manager to formally request funding participation from the San Juan Unified School District to fund 2 police officer positions assigned to the high schools.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Alex Turcotte, your Chief of Police. Over the past year or so, we've had an ongoing presentations and discussions from both the police department as well as the school district on the current status of the school safety program, and police response to schools, and then ideas for possible enhancements. In our August 10th meeting, council requested we come back with funding options to pursue 2 school resource officers, 1 for each high school within the city limits. The fiscal impact of that would be approximately $250,000 for startup costs, and would be around $380,000 per year from now until fiscal year 25-26, which is about the time for the ARPA funding. If you were to go with that option, it'd be a total of about $1.2 million. That includes labor costs, equipment, vehicles, and basically the whole boat to be able to put 2 fully outfitted police officers at each high school. So before you are the 3 options that the city clerk just read off. The first would be fully funding out of the general fund. Second would be using ARPA funds for the period of time that we're allowed to use ARPA. And then the third would be a formal request from the city manager to the school district to pursue funding options in either cost share form with the school district. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Questions from council members? No? Jane? Questions from Vice Mayor Daniels?
No questions, ready for comments when you are.
Okay. So are there any public comments on this?
I have not received any.
Okay. All right, I'm going to ask for comments from the council members. Who'd like to go first? Jane? Oh, Brett?
Sure, yeah, thank you. I'm very pleased that we're finally here today to get to this point. You know, there's no greater job than public safety, and there's probably no greater concern than safety to our children. And I have watched things happen around our country that just mortify me, and I can't imagine how I would feel if we had the opportunity to do this, which I believe we do. We actually have a couple of different opportunities to do this, and we passed, and something happened. So I'm very pleased that we've made it to this point today. I have to say that I would probably lean towards using the ARPA funds to begin with. That's why they're there. They have to be spent in a short period of time between now and when that time is. And so I think that's a good way to go, but I certainly would support going the other way with the funding and the general fund also, you know. And then I think it's, again, I'm optimistic maybe, but I think it's just definitely the responsibility of the school district to help us with this. And so hopefully they will find a way to do that. And we can make our 2 high schools safer. We have had incidents at our high schools this year that are concerning, and I think that we're better served in protecting our kids by having a police presence there for those kind of things. But more than that, I think we have a great opportunity to foster and develop positive relationships. And I've seen many of those throughout our area where police officers have become very trusted, and that leads to good sources of information and information flow. And I think that could be extremely helpful in preventing things, not only criminal things, but things that could be going on at the school that you know, kids are looking for a resource to talk to, and even at home. And these 2 officers strategically located in our city would also be available to respond if needed in the area in case of an emergency. That's my comments for now.
Any other comments? Jane? Jana?
If we're looking at, you know, A, B, and C, I kind of support C, where we work with the school district, because they think that the responsibility for the kids are at the school. We're responsible for people on our property, they're responsible for people on their property. And if they want, I mean, the mall pays for their cop. The Stones pays for their security. And so we don't provide security for places that we're not in charge of. And we had a presentation from the school guy about all the money they're spending on, securing their campuses and the need for not so much police presence as the type of behavioral issues that they have, bullying issues. And so I think that the school knows best how to protect their kids because they're right there. So, but I would support, working with the school district to, if they wanted to put up some funding for a resource officer, then I'd go for partial funding in conjunction with the school putting up funds.
So I have a couple of questions for you, Chief. So prior to April 2021, when we cut the police department by $3 million, and then we, within 4 weeks, restored the funding almost completely. But before April 2021, we had school resource officers, correct?
Yes,
Okay. Who paid for those?
we did.
So did the school participate at all?
No.
On any of that funding?
No, they did not.
Okay. So do you happen to know how Folsom or Rancho Cordova or how they fund their school resource officers?
I'm not familiar with that. I know Roseville has a cost share agreement where the school pays 3/4, and then the city pays an additional quarter.
Okay.
And there's a couple other cost sharing agreements like
there's-
that. The Roseville one's the one that just passed currently, so I'm more familiar with that one.
So there's a precedent for it.
For cost share.
Essentially, there is a cost share precedent for that we could ask the school district, and I think it's the school district apparently, from what I've seen, when they didn't want to do a special election, they enumerated how much that was going to cost, and yes, they had the money. But that was so I think that there might be an opportunity there. And I too would favor resolution number 3, but I will also say that we do have to expend the ARPA money. There was a grant, what was the grant that we didn't get? What was the name of that grant? That it was a housing grant that we had set aside $1 million for that?
Yeah, it was the high-impact transformative
Yes.
housing grant.
High impact, so that's an additional $1 million that we have, that we allocated from ARPA, that we have now that we didn't have before.
Do you have any anticipated ARPA, anything got your finger on that you want to use ARPA for?
We'd have some further discussions with council on some of the remaining ARPA. Certainly, we have some staff ideas on that, and we could bring that back at a future meeting to talk about.
We can always spend money.
And then the ARPA, again, would be a temporary funding, and then ultimately, once that ARPA funding was no longer available, then we would look at general fund
And we could use
funding.
the ARPA funds for our share in the cost sharing.
Right, if ultimately the council decided to pursue option number 3, absolutely, I would be recommending that we use ARPA for our share of that funding until such time we were no longer able to use it.
Right.
Okay. And just one more follow-up question, Chief. So we were funding school resource officers, and we had the whatever happened in 2021. And then once the funding was restored, the school resource officer program had been terminated based on the April 2021 vote. So what happened to the funding for those officers that was, where did those officers get, did they get redeployed? What happened with the resource officers that we had at the time? Are they still on staff? Are they still, do we still have those positions? Do we eliminate those positions? What happened with those?
Yeah, those positions originally, when we created the SRO position, they were taken from the patrol resources. So they were returned to the patrol resources around the same time when we had to collapse all of our specialties. So they're currently still within our patrol resource augment. And so far, as we're coming back from our staffing, we haven't yet hit a full threshold where we've been able to bring back all of our current specialties and certainly not our SROs, so.
So So we haven't had an opportunity for that. Does that mean that we would bring it back if all the positions were filled and we were able to staff all that the school resource officers would come back anyway?
In looking at the analysis, frankly, the original recommendation for our deployment that when we first became a city, recommended a certain number of officers, which is 48, what we currently have in patrol. In looking at our calls for service and analysis, I think that is a correct number, just to be able to provide our minimums and have some overage to be able to deal with staff vacancies or illness or injury. That's been able to keep us better whole, and I'm confident when we're more fully staffed, that'll help us have those extra proactive officers as well as mitigate overtime costs from having to backfill minimum shifts. So my recommendation would be, where we have come with our analysis is to leave those 48 officers in patrol to allow for that flexibility to be able to take on staffing challenges, especially now if we've talked in council. It takes a lot longer to replace our vacancies because of the line level, the academy graduation issue. It just takes longer to go. And so having that flex in the system to maintain the life safety response of 911, I think is crucial. And I wouldn't want to shortchange that if at all possible.
Okay. All right, so, I guess, any public comments on this? I asked for that already? Yes, okay.
I just wanted to understand what you said. So you don't have enough, let's say tomorrow we came up with a cost-sharing agreement. You don't have an officer to send?
No. I'd have to wait until, right now, all of my specialty unit vacancies are linked to officer graduations from field training. And so, for instance, our detectives are under strength, our motor unit's under strength, our impact is under strength. Now, if we passed SROs, I would definitely put SROs into that line to make sure that we got officers there, but it wouldn't be an immediate light switch flip. I'd have to program them into as
And you have to take
officers got
somebody
off
from
training,
patrol.
we would select officers to fill the school resource officer role. We would definitely make that a priority if clearly that's a council priority, but they would have to get programmed into that graduation.
All right, any
I
other
suspect even if-
questions?
I suspect even if we, agreed to a cost-sharing agreement, it would take the school districts some time to come up with that agreement. Time enough to maybe staff our officers.
Sorry about that. To answer your question, yeah, we're definitely working on staffing very hard, and council's been very supportive in that endeavor, and so I'd be more than happy to have everything fully staffed.
All right, any other questions, any other comments? All right, can I have a motion, please?
Just for clarification, we can do two different resolutions, correct? We can do a resolution to use ARPA funds and then come back with a resolution also on the participation. Am I right?
Yes, you could do that, as long as it's articulated in the motion.
Brett, you're on mute.
Okay, that'll be my motion then. I'll make a motion that we authorize the use of ARPA funding to fund 2 additional police officer positions to be assigned to the high schools in Citrus Heights.
On a cost-sharing basis.
I'll make that as a second motion, yes. That'll be my second motion.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, a first motion on B. So do we have a second? Okay. I'll second. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Karpinski Costa?
No.
Councilmember Lopez Taff?
No.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels?
Aye.
And Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. Motion does not pass.
I'll make
Can
a
I have
motion.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we direct the city manager to formally request funding participation from the San Juan Unified School District to fund 2 police officer positions to be assigned to the high schools in Citrus Heights.
I second. So do we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Karpinski Costa?
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez Taff?
Yes.
Councilmember Middleton's absent. Vice Mayor Daniels
Aye.
and Mayor Schaefer.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. Next item, please.
Next item is department reports, and there are none. The next item is city manager items.
All right, good evening, Mayor Schaefer, Vice Mayor Daniels, council members. I do have a couple of quick updates here. First of all, at the outset of the meeting, when we were talking about all the great events that occurred, I mean, that was a pretty heavy volume of some fantastic community events, and great to see all our council out there and all the community out there. There's so many to name right now. I'd take another 25 minutes going through them, and I'm sure that all those watching would appreciate it if I didn't. But yeah, some fantastic community events. Thanks for everybody that participated in those, including our staff team that really worked hard to help participate and put some of those on. We had an award that, we actually had two awards. This is from the Public Relations Society of America, the Sacramento chapter. City of Citrus Heights received awards for, they call it the PRSAs, the acronym, for an Influence Award in Collateral Material and Publications for that citywide Citrus Heights CARES mailer. So everybody that received that CARES mailer, it was a kind of action-packed mailer, if you will, two-sided, talked about our CARES campaign, talked about our community events on the other side, and as we saw at the City Scoop events and many of our other events, we got a lot of action out of that. So rightfully so, it was recognized with one of the highest awards for the local chapter. So really proud of our team for economic development and community engagement that worked on that and put that together. And
Two hands clapping.
yeah, there you go. And there was also other input from other departments too. So it was a collaborative effort. So appreciate all that, and it's nice to be recognized. In addition, there was a merit award in public affairs for the prospective council member workshop. And certainly we had attendees at that workshop that are sitting here today. So that was a fantastic workshop. It was an opportunity for those that had an interest in running for city council to learn more about what it means, different departments, and also was able to get feedback from a retiring council member. So we also received an award for that. And then, as was mentioned earlier, there was a transfer of command ceremony where interim chief Dan Haverty, you can see in the upper left picture there, he's holding the trumpet that he then passed over to our new chief Adam House. And so these are pictures from that transfer of command ceremony, and we're looking forward to continuing to develop our relationship with Chief House, and Sac Metro is definitely a fantastic partner, so we're excited to see the department and the continue to grow under his leadership. So congratulations to Chief House on that. And that concludes my updates.
Great. Next item, please.
Next item is items requested by council members or future agenda items.
Anybody? Dr. Jana Karpinski-Casa has something she's.
In our mail today, and I don't know if you had a chance to read it, was from Andrew Saunders. Did y'all read it? We all got this letter?
I didn't see it, no.
Okay, so what does, have you seen the letter from him? Okay, so he talks about his involvement with Highway 40 and the historic aspect of Highway 40.
See that one, yeah.
And how he wanted to add the 12-mile house, the 14-mile house, whatever. And so it's kind of a historic thing. And what he's asking, and he wants to put it as a point of interest on the map, so when visitors come to Citrus Heights, just like you follow Route 66, you can follow Route 40, which would go down our Auburn Boulevard. And so he has a proposal for some signage. So my request would be that staff contact him, see what all he's looking for, and if they need to do a presentation and put something before us for something that we get and I give you the letter from him so that staff could contact him. Did you read that, Jane? Did you get a chance?
I saw it as well. I did.
It seems like what he wants to do is just some signage that has the Alpha Lincoln Highway and,
I would support that item.
So what I'm hearing that you'd like is to come back to receive formal direction as an agendized item?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
So I'll give you this, and somebody can contact him about what it would involve. It might be there's some community funding available, say maybe Megan would want to talk to him about, perspective in the future for the next year's funds. If
Okay,
it's
we
possible.
don't
I
want
don't
to
know what it
lobby,
costs to
it's
put up
not
a
time to
sign.
lobby for this.
Well, whatever, but I mean,
We're gonna put it on
there's
the
other
agenda.
options. There's other options for this man.
I'm hearing support to bring that back.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Then I had one other thing. We got a really long email, the chief might want to know about this one, from a lady who lives near the mall, and about what do they call those guys who spin donuts? They spin
Sideshows.
sideshows. So I kind of wanted to know what you do in a private parking lot when you have this going on, because she admits that it's not a city lot. She has called every department in the city, and she has gotten nowhere. So what I saw was so I just kind of did my own little research, and the city of Sacramento has a area of South Sacramento called Delta Shores. And apparently Delta Shores has a parking lot that is private. So they unanimously on Tuesday added the Delta Shores parking lot, which is a private parking lot, where police can enforce California vehicle violations, and including speeding. And so they said the list was created in 2006, and the reason the police could not take preventive action in the past was because Delta Shores is private property. But somehow adding them to this list that they created gives the police the authority to enforce on private parking lots. Is this something that we need to do, is make a list of private parking lots that police can, is that something that we can look at? Because this lady, I'll forward you her email, because I just read it right before council meeting, but it's quite long, and she looks like she's exhausted.
Thank you, Chief.
I know we don't want to get into too much discussion, but the short version is, we have that email. We do have the authority to enforce reckless driving on private property. She has made some calls, but we're going to reach out to her and get a better understanding of the problem. So I think in the short term, let us dive into it and see if there's any needs, and if there are needs for something like that, we could probably proactively bring that back to council, but
Well,
I
it's
think
just
we could
coming
probably,
from
I think
so
we
many
can-
people are describing this activity.
That sideshow activity throughout Sacramento County is horrible. We actually have a regional collaboration with all of our surrounding agencies and Highway Patrol, where on the weekends, we follow these things and try to enforce them as well. That specific issue behind the mall, we're already looking into, but I would say
Okay.
let us dive into it first.
Okay.
And if we think that there's a need like that.
There was another city that put bot dots all over their intersection, because that keeps the cars from spinning. Is that true? Does bot dots work, and are they expensive?
Well, Director Cave would be more than happy, I'm sure, to repair the roadways out there and add whatever we ask her to. But I think if we can, there's several engineering things that we can definitely do, and we have done in some intersections within the city. I'm not sure what leverage we would have on private property to do some of those things, but let us analyze that first, and then we could probably bring back to you a long-range solution.
Okay.
That would be good. That might
It's
be
just
okay,
getting a
just
lot
an
of
update,
complaints about
frankly,
it.
but if we needed to take council action, we could at that time.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
I just love when our police department is so responsive to public needs. Thank you.
Anything else? Vice Mayor?
Nope.
Okay, next item, please.
There are no further items.
Yay. I'm calling this meeting adjourned at 8:56. Thank you for everyone for coming.